Hall of Fame. Zach Levine for three. He is taking over this ball game in Chicago. DeRozan double teamed inside Caruso. Left corner Boots. Why not? Boots for three. Yes! Get out the umbrellas, Bill. It's raining threes here in Chicago.
All right, let me write that down. I'm going to steal that line from.
That's good.
Hold on, is that
Chuck Swirsky?
Chuck Swirsky. Yep.
Is Chuck is Chuck Swirsky from Maryland?
I don't know. I just know he's a longtime Chicago guy.
Because there's a very Maryland A in his Chicago. It's raining threes here in Chicago.
I should know this.
He sounds like SVP. Do you ever watch when SVP and Kirkjian used to do their thing? And SVP would just say these. I think my favorite one was Roberto Luongo, and he would just make Kirkjian laugh his ass off with the Baltimore accent.
I do remember that.
That's what his Chicago sounds like to me.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. It's good.
Roberto Luongo
with the save. Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome in. We are off and running. That is Ravi. Jimmy here as well. I am Gary with all of you. Can we just, as we start the morning, and I know this one's going to hit you right away to begin the morning, can we just ask, after yesterday, can we just all get along? Can we be happy today?
What happened yesterday?
Yeah, what I miss?
Okay. Well, what did you guys miss? I think you're being facetious. So yesterday was quite the day. On our show, Donovan Raiola is retained at Nebraska, and we spend a good chunk of 4 hours talking about the whys of he would be retained and people's reaction.
People are mad.
People were very, very mad.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a very mad day. There were a lot of people that were mad at like the top stories. Locally, the top story was Nebraska retaining Donnie Raiola. Twitter was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah, cesspool.
Like every day.
Of takes and angry, some rational things, some irrational thoughts. So people were just really upset. So that was locally.
Yeah.
And then nationally, people are really upset that Aaron Judge is getting paid a lot of money. Why? It's not your money.
I don't care about that at all.
It's not your money.
Also,
Buster Olney, who cares?
He hit 62 home runs in a contract year. He was going to get all the money.
Yeah, good for him.
I love people that bet on themselves, whether they be in sports or in life. If you bet on yourself, hey, go for it. It doesn't always work out.
No, but he cashed in.
Yeah, he bet on himself.
Congrats.
And the Yankees were forced to give him $150 million more than they would have if he would have signed earlier. But you know what? It's not your money. Why are you so upset? What Thursday needs to be more happy. We got volleyball coming up at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
we got the road to Omaha,
which John
Cookers.
He was not terribly happy about that either.
Nobody's happy. Let's be happy today.
It's not raining yet.
I'm not happy today either. We had a little Xander Bogart situation.
Well, that was another late night news dump that we will get to. That San Diego, who
limitless cash apparently.
Yeah, a lot of money. They want to knock off the Dodgers so much that they're just spending freely. Xander Bogaerts, who. Part of the day yesterday, you thought he was going to go back to Boston.
I never thought that.
Wasn't that a Buster Olney, or was that John Heyman?
It was John. I think it was John Heyman, which you can't trust. Arson Judge is not going to the Giants.
A lot of people upset at John Heyman yesterday for his tweets. But Xander Bogaerts, late last night, signs an 11-year deal with the San Diego Padres to become their everyday shortstop and leave Boston, where he had begun his career and had been a productive hit machine.
No options, full no trade clause. He got the whole boat.
Boy, you know what? Baseball is back, boys and girls.
Oh, yeah.
The Hot Stove League and the winter meetings that are going on in San Diego, there are people just spending freely. It doesn't matter your age.
Not the Red Sox.
I mean, 11-year deals. But
don't worry, Trevor Story's there.
Well, you got a Japanese player yesterday.
We did, yeah.
Well, you know what? In every highlight you see, and that's on my bucket list, is to go to like Tokyo or Japan and go to a professional baseball game there, is every player looks like the second coming.
Yes.
Like every highlight that comes out of Japan of a player that has listed and could be moving to this country to play in the majors, their highlights look unbelievable.
Japanese baseball players is the equivalent of like American AAU basketball highlights. every kid that puts out an AAU basketball highlight looks like he's a 5-star, like he's going to Duke. And it's like, oh no, that's some 5'11" kid from the suburbs of Minneapolis. Yep. He's going to a D3 school because St. Thomas, he didn't want to walk on at St. Thomas. Like that's the Japanese equivalent of that is the baseball highlights. But every once in a while, you have Zion Williams dunking on 12-year-olds at the local YMCA, and you're like, wait, that guy might actually be good. I have no idea if this guy's good or not. I haven't even taken the time to figure out how to pronounce his name yet, which is why I haven't said it. I don't want to be disrespectful. But just being honest,
Daisuke.
Usually it takes me. I learned Daisuke early, and it was a waste of time. But it's a total crapshoot, and you trust the scouting department, whatever. They, the Red Sox have actually done a pretty good job at that. It's just the keeping guys after they're good that has been an issue.
So the winter meetings are over.
If they don't sign Devers, people are going to lose.
Well,
people are going to lose.
His bargaining power in Boston just went through the roof.
Yeah, because if they don't sign him, they will have a mutiny on their hands.
There's some places where you can't take a step back.
Well, and listen, I was looking at,
and especially after the Yankees have spent a lot of money. But you know what? I'm okay with like the Cubs not getting Judge because I'm going to sit back for Ohtani next year,
which is great. That's terrific.
Yanks and Mets won't have money for Ohtani. That might be a good thing.
I'm sure
that now.
I'm sure the Red Sox won't pay Ohtani because they apparently don't pay anybody except for like David Price.
Just let it out. I mean, I wanted to be happy. I started the show. Let's be happy. Ravi, you're not happy, so let's just
listen.
Let it out.
I'm going to get it all out.
Get it out of your system.
We'll be happy in a minute here. Okay. So before the show, I was looking at the 2018 World Series champion Red Sox roster. You want to guess how many guys
Did you just drop that in there? That was a nice little flex. That was a very subtle flex.
Thank you. That was one of the better baseball teams we've seen in a while, by the way. Yeah, it was. You want to guess how many guys in their regular starting lineup were 30 or younger? This is just 4 years ago now.
6.
7 guys. You want to guess how many of their 5 starters were 30 or younger?
They were a little bit older rotation, correct?
Well, 4 of them. 4 of the 5 were 30 or younger. The only guy over 30 was David Price, who ended up in the bullpen by the end of the postseason anyway. So all 4 of their postseason starters under 30. You want to guess how many of their key bullpen arms were 30 or younger?
Young.
All of them. The oldest guy was Craig Kimbrell, who they just let walk after winning a World Series. So what I'm saying is this team should still be good at baseball. They have made 1 playoff appearance since 2018 after having a roster that young and being one of the better teams we've seen in baseball in the last 25 years. And they have 1 playoff appearance to show for it since then. That's why everybody in Boston is mad. And everybody who likes Boston, who happens to be in Omaha, also mad.
So we can share some feelings together. 2 teams that have broken curses and with a young core.
That should have been the start of some. Yeah, very frustrating.
And now I got to watch Wilson Contreras play in St. Louis.
Really frustrating.
I love Willie. I hope his career turns out in St. Louis like Dexter Fowler.
you already got the paycheck.
I do not understand why the Cubs did not see something that a lot of other people see in Contreras. But you know what? It's not my money. Not my money. It's just my team.
Here's the other, and well, it's especially frustrating if you're a Cubs or a Red Sox fan, right? Because your owners just print money. There's I don't care about your luxury tax. I don't care about the repeat offenders, all that nonsense. You just print money. It's all monopoly money to them. Why are you so concerned about a budget? You're not Mark Davis over here who doesn't have the cash flow to sign Khalil Mack. Like you just go find it in your couch cushion, man. $280 for Xander Bogaerts wouldn't even show up on the ledger. Like they're about to sell Liverpool. That's going to go for $5 billion, probably. It's one of the most valuable franchises in the world. I think they can find $280 million for Xander Bogaerts, or however much money they needed for Mookie Betts. Not to mention they own like a racing group that's very successful. They own everything. They have all the money, and they just don't spend it. It's so frustrating.
I'm glad you got out of it.
I'm good now. Thank you. I needed that. Okay. They were 108 and 54 in 2018.
I'm sitting here.
I don't know if I've ever seen you this.
I got my 2016 magic coin in my pocket, so I'm with you.
All right, I'm okay. I think I'm good.
All right. Coming up later on the show, The lineup brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Sarah Baker Hansen will stop by. Stephen M. Sipple is in at 8:30. We'll see if Sip is triggered. It's Ask Us Anything Thursday for your chance to win a gift card from Oscar's Pizza and Grill. And then Brian Edwards going to help you win some money at 9:45. We have Thursday Night Football tonight. At one point, this looked like a really good game. Woo! The Raiders, the resurgent Las Vegas Raiders, are in Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Maybe we get Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Or name the Ram quarterback.
Is it Wofford? Is that the other option? He's kind of banged up too, isn't he?
No Aaron Donald tonight?
Yeah, he's out for the year?
I don't think the year.
Oh, okay.
Just Stafford.
Okay, gotcha.
Boy, has there been a Super Bowl champion the following year that has fallen off the cliff as quickly as the Rams have?
Ooh,
They've been a plethora of injuries.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They don't have one of their key wide receivers from last year. They had a very, very important offensive lineman retire. But the Rams, teams that win the Super Bowl the following year, usually they get back to the playoffs, but they have an early exit.
Yeah, or they're right on that cusp.
But not to fall off the map like the Rams
where they're
have,
the worst team in their division.
Yeah, where you're questioning, do you really think that Sean McVay eats soup?
No.
But he is the spokesperson for
He's not a soup eater.
Campbell's. Yeah, it's what is a can of soup? About 150% of your sodium intake.
I was just going to say
minimum.
Yeah, McVay doesn't strike me as a Campbell's
he
soup guy.
Strikes me as a kale and sushi guy.
Yeah,
I think California is a good fit for him.
Oh, well, we'll see him in his commercials a lot tonight, and you'll hear the game right here on the Zone. So that is the lineup as we roll till 10. I want to give some love here. So this is a happy day after yesterday's just angst about Donnie Raiola. Is at 10 a.m. this morning, Nebraska and Oregon are playing volleyball. It's a very lazy start time from the NCAA because Louisville is the Eastern time zone start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of people would watch Nebraska and Oregon volleyball, but let's put them at 10 a.m.
Yeah, why not?
And let's hope that the Nebraska fans get themselves into the Yum Yum Center to watch this. So very lazy by the NCAA. But I am curious, and we will give love to anybody that has an establishment, whether you are a partner of ours or not. If you're going to be open at 10 a.m. this morning so people can come watch volleyball, there are very few places in this country where at 10 a.m. on a Thursday where the weather could be a little bit iffy, we could get some icing. We're going to have some cold rain today. I just played weather guy. If you're going to be, people would show up and watch Nebraska, Oregon volleyball in the Sweet 16. If you're going to be open at 10 a.m. for beers, eggs and steak, or steak and eggs.
I do love steak and eggs.
That would be my only thing that I wanted to be a third shifter, work 11/7.
Wake up or get off work and get some steak and eggs?
Like at 7:30 in the morning, I'm pounding beers and steak and eggs.
Yeah.
So at 10 a.m., if you're open, let us know, and we will pass that along. Because I think there's going to be people quite interested.
I would bet.
Watching it work, listening to the great John Baylor.
I would guess, and maybe they can fill us in here, I would guess DJ's is open.
Do they open that early? They open early for college football, but I'm wondering if Nebraska volleyball is big enough that you would open at 10 a.m.
They typically open at 11, I believe. Okay. But in my past experience, when there is Nebraska volleyball going on, they have a pretty good crowd. So that would be my, if anybody is, I would guess them.
So at 10 a.m. this morning, just say it on 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Okay. That's Oregon, by the way, playing their body clocks say it is 8 a.m.
Fun for them.
Advantage Nebraska. Nebraska in 4.
By the way, Chuck Swirsky from Norfolk, Virginia. So nailed that one.
Okay, so yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Feel good about that.
All right. You have the lineup. But as we go into before break, I want to leave you with this, and we'll come back and we'll dive into this because Donnie Raiola Day yesterday is what would be the reaction if Mickey Joseph was promoted from interim to head coach? And he was putting his staff together, and he would have kept Donnie Raiola. Would the reaction be differently? Because remember, and Donnie Raiola, the thing I said yesterday is he's kind of out of sight, but not out of mind.
Yeah.
You don't hear from him very often. Maybe one hand, you can recall the times that he has talked to the media. Not that he avoided the media, just, there were no assistant coaches.
No position coaches.
Access, being in the fall. And he didn't really talk a lot during the spring or the off season. And he's not a big social media guy. I'm the question remains is about the recruiting prowess, because when guys go recruiting, that's the thing. You take a picture now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you take a picture with the person you're recruiting or the coach, and you don't really see Donnie doing that. So, that's where people go, well, who is this guy? First of all, I'm looking at his offensive line, and now I don't see him, and I'm wondering who he is. But remember, it was probably, I don't know, was it halfway through Mickey's interim tenure where he got talking about the offensive line, and in particular, Donnie Raiola, and he said, hey, there's some depth and some recruiting issues that are plaguing the offensive line. That came from Mickey Joseph, very popular at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if he would have been the head coach and he retained Donnie Raiola? Would it have been a different reaction than the reaction that happened yesterday? Some of it was rational. I don't want to say all the reaction was negative. I think we explained the whys, but it was, man, it was back and it wore you out yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But what if it was Mickey that would have retained Donnie Raiola? Would the reaction be different? Because remember, he said depth and recruiting issues have plagued our offensive line. He went there first before ever saying, well, that guy can't coach. Never said that, period. But what if Mickey says it, and then Matt Rule comes out when he discusses his staff publicly, and that's one of the things he brings up on a question is, yeah, man, we have some depth and recruiting issues, and we really don't know about our offensive line.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and I don't remember the exact quotes, I remember the press conference or the comments that you're talking about. If I remember correctly, he came off as fairly complimentary of the work that Raiola had done. So I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if Mickey had been retained, that he would have retained Raiola as well. You also wonder about, what kind of network Mickey had at a place like an offensive line position coach, right? So that would have been a factor also. But I don't know. It seems like people that have worked with Donnie kind of think highly of him. And listen, I said this yesterday. I said this on Twitter a million times. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't think there's a guarantee that it's going to work. I don't think it's as bad of a hire as some people tend to believe it is. And I certainly don't think most of the offensive line issues were his fault. I legitimately think they were better at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year. And that's without 40% of your starters for most of the season. But it's a really interesting question, because theoretically you should give Rule more of a benefit of the doubt than you would Mickey in these types of decisions, because Rule has done this before and Mickey Joseph has not. But I kind of feel like, and I think this is where you're getting at, people would have been more okay with Mickey keeping Raiola than they are with Rule.
Agree.
And that doesn't make a ton of sense. Which, not that everything is super rational around here, I get that. But when you really break it down into its pieces, it makes almost no sense at all. Because I would have got the feeling if Mickey had retained Raiola, it would have been because he couldn't find anyone else, or didn't have a network that included an offensive line coach that he liked. And I'm guessing he wouldn't have 3 other guys on staff that have coached offensive line at different points. And so you're kind of putting Raiola in even a worse spot. Whereas I actually feel okay about the spot that he's in now. The big question is, how well can he recruit? And we don't know that. And that's a total wild card. But I think that's a wild card with a lot of position coaches at the Division I level who don't have this huge track record. Like, there's not that many Vince Maros of the world, right? Like, there's not a ton of those guys that are career, or, rest in peace, John Blakes of the world, who are basically career position coach assistants that are awesome recruiters. There's not that many of those dudes. Most of them become coordinators, where the recruiting becomes less important, or head coaches, where the recruiting becomes less important in terms of direct contact. So I don't know what people were expecting.
Well, I can tell you after going through my timeline.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted John Garrison. They were expecting John Garrison, right? Like, they
were expecting not everyone. They were expecting someone besides the current guy.
Which, that's not a good enough answer for me.
It's not?
No, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, right? Like, we
talked a lot about this yesterday.
Well, not just the offensive line, but, like, what are the names that you want?
Yeah.
Like, who's the running back coach out there that you're like, that's the best damn running back coach in the country?
I'll listen if you say, well, where's the wow guy at running back? And then you start giving me
But nobody
names.
has the names.
Exactly.
You've got, there's the only reason we know Mickey Joseph's name is because he played here.
Mm-hmm.
I dare you to name me 2 other position or wide receiver coaches in the country. I know the one at Ohio State because he's really good.
Ryan Hartline.
Keith
Williams.
Keith, what is he active right now? He's not. He doesn't have a job right now.
You just asked me a question. Name a wide receiver coach.
There were no specifics.
Currently working wide receiver coach.
All right, 951-1620. Always the access to the show. You can email us into the Equitable Bank inbox. We'll entertain some conversation there as well. Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Also on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620 at R.A. Lula. We are off and running. Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple. Ask us anything. Your chance to win a gift card from Oscar's Pizza and Grill. You ask us any question. It can be holiday related.
Preferably any question.
Anything like that.
We had some good ones earlier in the week that had nothing to do with it.
But don't ask us if you can just have the gift card.
Yeah.
Technically, that is asking us anything.
But the answer will be no.
But the answer will be no, and you won't get the gift card. Ask us good questions.
No.
I don't want to put limitations on the segment here.
We've given you material this week. I mean, we talked about Christmas lights for a half hour.
I don't know what we talked about for a half hour.
It was close.
No, I think it was like 10 minutes.
We touched on it.
We briefly discussed
stealing
it.
nativity scenes.
We brushed
pumpkins.
by it.
Hey, you guys think I'm crazy. People steal nativity scenes.
Oh, I believe
I don't
it.
think you're crazy.
But God bless your soul, because you're in trouble. I'm not stealing baby Jesus.
No, I think if you're going to steal Christmas decorations, you have to go somewhere in the Santa reindeer realm.
Take a reindeer.
Go for the inflatable Christmas decoration. Don't go for baby Jesus.
Yeah, don't go for 8
and especially
pound,
if it's a live nativity scene.
Yeah, don't
do
steal
not
a live
steal
child.
baby Jesus. That's just a word of advice, kids out there, from Uncle Gary.
That's called kidnapping.
I mean, this is the holiday season. I would not want you to spend the holiday season next to somebody you don't know that hasn't showered in days and would like to physically manhandle you. Just looking out for you. All right, off and running. Glad to have you in. We'll touch on Nebraska basketball last night. Fell at Indiana. Surprising note from that game that I would have never thought. We'll dive into that. We roll till 10. Robbie, Jimmy, and Gary on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
No, I don't want Matt Rule to go out and make a home run hire for the home run hire's sake. Because if this home run hire doesn't have similar philosophies or can't work within the Matt Rule structure, it ain't going to work.
And funnily enough, John, we have seen around here coaches be undone by hires maybe that they don't really have a tie to.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Winter weather advisory will be in effect for Thursday. Expect a dry morning commute in the metro with freezing rain arriving after 10 a.m. That freezing rain will transition to rain in the afternoon, though staying chilly with highs in the mid-30s. Some light icing accumulation possible with higher amounts north and west of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some significant slowdown near 108th and the I-80 East ramp along L Street. Then on Center, be prepared for some minor delays from 175th to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Help someone on your Christmas list get their Fernando's fix with Fernando's gift cards. Buy $100 and get a $20 gift card for yourself. Only at 75th and Pacific or 114th and Dodge. Hurry, offer ends soon. Feliz Navidad from Fernando's. FernandosOmaha.com.
Suicide can be prevented by knowing the warning signs. And most importantly, knowing what to do if you recognize those signs in yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger. There are simple ways you can be there for someone, so they can be here for more tomorrows. Visit moretomorrowsne.org to learn the signs, how to approach the conversation, and where to get help. Or call 988 for help now. That's moretomorrowsne.org.
What makes 42 Degrees the source for Kratom, CBD, Delta, and more that might help you with sore muscles, joints, and other ailments? Stop by any location, talk to our staff, and see what we can do for you. By your mom's house.
Especially during the holidays, our time is precious. So when you make an appointment for service, you want things to run on time. For over 50 years, McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air has valued their customers' time with their on-time guarantee. Their technicians are licensed, properly trained, and drug tested, and have over 100 years combined HVAC service experience. See more at McCarthy's1hour.com. For heating and AC service, repair, and installation, trust the folks who are always on time, or you don't pay a dime. McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. McCarthy's1hour.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
Frank's Pizzeria in Omaha favorite is this week's half-off deal. You'll receive two $20 gift vouchers, a value of $40 for just $20. Frank's Pizzeria is Omaha's home for true New York pizza, calzones, stromboli, pasta, sandwiches, salads, and desserts, now with 2 locations.
Zone Deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
I thought learning a language would be too much work, but Babbel makes learning fun. J'aime Babel.
Babbel's lessons only take 10 or 15 minutes, and soon you turn and realize, hey, I'm starting to speak another language. Como si fuera magia.
Babbel isn't robots talking. You learn words and phrases from real native speakers. I was ready for real-life conversations in just a few weeks. So easy.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com. 1620 The Zone.
All right, so DJs will be open at 10 this morning if you want to watch volleyball.
Oh, did we get official word?
Yeah.
All right. I told you.
Mentioned it. Josh shared a screenshot.
There we go.
So, there you go. 10 a.m. volleyball for Nebraska and Oregon. Will we pay attention to volleyball if Nebraska doesn't make it back here next week? Because next week is the Final Four in this town.
I bet you'll still get a pretty good crowd of people that have tickets already, but it'll be a much different atmosphere for sure.
It's the awkwardness of, remember when they moved to spring because of COVID and they were playing in the bubble. And then when they moved to the big house, they had fans in the stands.
Yeah.
And Nebraska wasn't playing. And it was a good crowd. I mean, very few places when a local team is not there and not going to get to a sellout, but it was just very kind of awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an inherent awkwardness there for most of those events when you've got kind of a hometown team that doesn't make it. It's actually kind of like the College World Series is an outlier in this where we don't care who's playing for the most part. Omaha people are going to come. You're going to get your out of towners or whatever, but that's actually pretty unusual. I don't know that we appreciate how strange that is here in Omaha because we've been doing it for so long. But without Nebraska in the volleyball Final Four, you're going to get a very different level of enthusiasm. And I would imagine you go from basically guaranteed sellouts to a nice crowd, but not a
I still think there'll be sellouts. I mean, this is
You think so?
There's a great volleyball state, very knowledgeable people.
It is.
And it's an event that is only a 2-day event.
Sure,
with
which
3
helps.
matches.
Yeah.
So I think it'll still be a sellout. That sport, and unfortunately, you got 3 really good head coaches that coach the Division I programs in this state. Is at some point that sport, wherever it finds a home, if college volleyball ever moves to the spring, is I would be worn out as one of the top level coaches in that sport that has to sell and help grow your sport every single day.
Yeah, it's a different job than like a college football coach, for instance, right? At a Power 5 institution, at least. Like there's college football coaches or college basketball coaches at smaller schools that a lot of their job is kind of promoting the brand and things like that. But that's the best schools in the country in volleyball or women's basketball have to do that and advocate for themselves. Like there's no way.
Women's basketball, you never hear coaches as open as talking about your TV placement or how can we get games at this time or what's that doing for the sport. You never really hear that about women's basketball. You hear more of how they're treated when they get to like the Final Four and changes happen. But it's just like it's a continual fight, it seems like, from the top level coaches in volleyball trying to talk to ESPN or whoever about how to grow the sport. I mean, how is growing the sport having Nebraska, Oregon, which is going to be a great match today, two top 10 teams playing at 10 a.m. Now, hey, thank you. It's on ESPNU. You don't have to pull out your computer, your phone, and stream it. But all the Coach Booth, Coach Cook, they always talk about, man, are we doing this for the good of the sport? Are we growing the sport? Why are we being shifted to FS2?
Yeah.
You know, just it's got to be exhausting for coaches that have really, really good programs that should not be their concern, that at some point it would click and go, you know what, the eyeballs are pretty good when we put the college volleyball product on. Now, I'll give a little credit to ESPN because they showed more regular season volleyball on their platforms than I can recall in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and Big Ten Network has made Wednesday in the fall the night for volleyball. It just seems like every week it is one of the top coaches has to talk about, well, you know, can we do this? How do we, you know, are you growing the sport? Thankfully, there are coaches that will take on that charge. But gosh, they just shouldn't have to do it all the time. Like it seems like John Cook can have a press conference and he talks about his team and then has to talk about the general feeling of the sport and how to make the sport better.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it has to happen at all. Like you said, it is part of, I guess it's part of taking on that mantle as being one of the coaches of the best programs in the country. Is part of that job at this point, at least, is advocating for the sport in general. And because you're the only people that anybody even has a chance of listening to, because if you're not at that highest level, you're not even going to get the little bit amount of face time or screen time or whatever that you have in order to make that appeal and to make that plea. So, you know, you appreciate the coaches that do it and the coaches that are willing to take that on, but it would be really nice if they could just go out there and coach their teams and build their programs and try and go and win national championships. But it's always, at least as far as I can remember, it's always been, okay, you have to do all those things plus. You have to do all the regular things, plus try and make sure that the sport gets the proper amount of attention. And volleyball is a little strange in the sense that I do think people really enjoy it. Like there's, it's an exciting product, and I think people genuinely enjoy it. I just don't. That's one of the few, because I push back on some people with this because I think there's a very supply-demand market here. But it's one of the very few sports that doesn't get the coverage that I think it could support. Like, I think college volleyball could support a much larger platform than it currently gets. Whereas there's certain other things, whether it's college hockey or things like that has, or we get a lot of people in this state that really love wrestling, and I totally understand that. But wrestling is a fairly niche sport, especially at the college level. And you know, I don't know that you're going to get a ton of eyeballs if ESPN is showing regular season college wrestling matches. Like that's probably not something they're going to draw a big number with. Whereas with volleyball, like they pretty consistently, if you've got a good matchup on in primetime, you're going to get a pretty solid number for it. Better than a lot of these, frankly, regular season men's basketball games.
Volleyball also may be a sport if you're trying to grow the sport. And the people that love volleyball, that have sons or daughters that play volleyball or have been involved in the sport, they're there. They're watching. They're buying the tickets. If you're looking for like the casual fan or to grow the sport, to bring somebody new in, TV probably doesn't do volleyball justice in trying to show it on TV, because I think you have to go in person to see the explosiveness of the athletes and how great a sport it is.
And how fast
how
it
technically,
is.
I mean, where softball has grown on the ESPN platform, especially during the World Series in Oklahoma City, because it's a good TV sport. Everything is quick. Okay, you can fit it into about a 2-hour window. For the most part, you can fit volleyball in, but there are some, 5-setters that will go 2+ hours. I just think it's tough for TV to really show the person at home that's never been in an arena, in a gym, has no connection to the sport, to really show you how great the sport is because of where you're shooting it from. Like, there's always a debate about that sport of would it be a better look if you shot behind the setter instead of the normal basically 50-yard line look.
Yeah. No, and that's a fair point. I mean, there are certain sports that certainly play better in person than they do on TV. I will say, once you've kind of been to a volleyball match, a high-level volleyball match in person, I think you understand it better when you're watching on TV once you've had that experience. But without having been there, you're right, it probably doesn't translate to television quite as well as basketball does, or like softball does, for instance. So that does make it challenging as well. But it's still, even with that, it still brings in pretty good numbers. It brings in better numbers than a lot of the stuff they put on in prime time or on a regular basis. So that's the part of it that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, is when they've got good matchups, it does pretty well. And, it's better than like FS1 putting on like Georgetown men's basketball. Like, nobody wants to watch that. No one in the world. It's so bad. Like, it's like, who was watching George?
Did they beat Siena last night?
I didn't even look.
If you were a DC resident and showed your ID, you got in for free. God bless David Wingate.
Wow.
Like, nobody wants to watch Georgetown versus Siena or Georgetown versus Coppin State. Like, college volleyball is a much better option than that. But that's the part where it's like, hey, we need to use a little critical thinking here. I get that you think Georgetown basketball is a thing. It's dead right now. Like, we might have to get like a zombie adrenaline shot, something in there at some point when they fire Patrick Ewing. But right now it's dead. So maybe we stop beating that horse.
If they won last night, they're 5-5.
Good for them.
What'll happen today? So Nebraska, Oregon play at 10 a.m. At the Yum Yum Center in downtown Louisville. Before
still a weird name,
the KFC Yum Center. I call it the Yum Yum.
I like Yum Yum Center better.
KFC
no, but it's still
Center.
Called the Yum Center. That's weird. It's a weird name.
Corporate rights. It's a beautiful arena. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
I've heard it's terrific.
Yeah, they got the best pregame spread of anywhere. They got their own chefs that make the food for you.
Yeah.
At a basketball game.
There you go.
And when I was there, the Papa John's guy was sitting right next to me.
He's not sitting there anymore.
Yeah.
Nope. After that, he encountered some issues. But what will happen, and this will be what ESPN will say, because I think ESPN is lazy here, and they just take for granted a fan base like Nebraska is, we'll put them on at 10 a.m. We're still going to get good numbers, and you will. You will get people, you'll get eyeballs, and a lot of them will be from Nebraska. And you know what else? So usually at 10 a.m., if you're playing a match like this, there's going to be a lot of empty seats. People are going to go dressed as empty seats. There will be a lot of red there. And so on TV, it will look like, hey, fairly good crowd. So ESPN can go, hey, look at this. Well, stop taking Nebraska volleyball and their fan base for granted.
Yeah.
That they're always going to show up and they're going to do good numbers for you. And you can go, hey, Matt, we'd put them on at 7 a.m. and people would watch. Yeah, they probably would. But how is that good for the sport?
But yeah, guess what? More people would watch at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Listen, there's
you can arrange it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I know that they're the furthest east regional, so you want all the matches on TV in the Sweet 16, and so that one is east. But at 10 a.m., if I'm Oregon, I know John Cook has been openly talking about this. I'm Oregon. I'm playing at 8 a.m.
Yeah. Your body clock says 8 a.m.
I'm at 8 a.m. I don't know. We all get up early for this show, but if I'm a college student
and a high-level athlete,
you're not getting up at 7:55 and going playing in the NCAA tournament.
No,
and you're probably at 6 a.m. to your body clock. Now, I don't know if Oregon practices early. They probably have been practicing early this week.
And they might work out early, but that's a totally different thing than going out and performing in your sport.
Going through your pregame routine, your meal. And
everything. Like, how early you have to wake up in order to be ready to play for something like that at an 8 a.m. body clock?
That's why watch closely with whatever is coming from the West Coast into the Big Ten, will we
those 11 a.m. starts?
Will we get 9 a.m. starts on the West Coast for football?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly plausible. I wonder if they're going to try and.
I mean, are you always going to give a built-in advantage to the teams on the West Coast, even like the big games, to say, hey, I know big noon kickoff is our big thing, but we're going to do the pregame show, and then the game's not going to start for about 4 more hours? Or do you say, hey, newbies on the West Coast, we're going to be playing games at 9 a.m.? Or there's also a factor of, oh, my God, if we play at 9 a.m. at the Coliseum, will there be
empty.
Anybody there?
I'll say that's going to be probably the bigger concern.
No, you're joining the Big Ten. 9 a.m. kickoffs. Get used to it. All right, prepare accordingly. Breakfast in the stand.
And they tried it a couple of years ago. I mean, there were no fans then, but they tried it just to get a feel for if it could work. And guess what? People watched.
Pac-12 before the sun comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Pac-12 before light and Pac-12 after dark. It'll work. Just before the sunrise, after sunset, let's do it.
Just, I mean, they always going to be an advantage playing on the West Coast.
Well, and
USC and Ohio State, I mean, that's probably going to be like a primetime game.
That'll be a primetime game. But I imagine they'll do a lot of those where it's, the West Coast teams are on the road. So they're on at 11, but they're not having to look at an empty Coliseum at 9 a.m. Because that would be, I think, the concern for Fox is not, hey, we have to make this team play early, but hey, we have to show a 12% full Coliseum, because that's a tough look. And you wonder if they're willing to do that, even if it is an advantage for them.
By the way, I am hearing, and we've already starting to see this, get ready. We see it in college basketball, which is still very odd to me. And we've kind of seen it as a trickle in college football. Friday night is going to become a very popular night in the fall and the winter for conference games.
I'm here for it.
I mean, basketball is really crept into playing on Friday nights. For some reason, the Big Ten likes a conference game in basketball on a Friday night. And I think Friday night across the board, because everybody's fighting for airtime and time slots and platforms, that Friday night for college athletics will increasingly have more volume and more content to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see it sooner than later.
Yeah, I think you're going...
Because you're running out of days a week.
Yes.
We've been scared off by the NFL on Thursday nights.
Well, that's the big thing.
And
here.
Saturday is a jumbled,
it's a mess
all over the place. So Friday nights is going to become, I think, a college night. And they'll just say, hey, sorry, high schools. I mean, some places it's not a big deal. They don't really care about the high schools. But, like here, Nebraska's never playing at home on a Friday night. They will never play at home. I'm pretty certain of that.
You think so?
Never
say never.
Oh, yeah, I'd say
they
no
would.
way.
They would.
Yep.
No, I don't think they would.
The Big Ten's already gone there.
I don't think they'd play a home game on a Friday night.
Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska would never play on a
So
Friday.
Penn State has said, absolutely not.
there's
We're
4.
never playing at home on a Friday.
I don't know, man.
We'll go on the road and play on Friday. We've done it before. But I just don't think it'll happen at home.
The television money makes the world go round. I don't know. I think
also true.
If the Big Ten decides, hey, we're having a Friday night game every weekend because we're scared of the NFL, so we're not playing on Thursdays anymore, and we're scared of the NFL, so we're not doing anything else creative. We're only doing Friday nights. Nebraska and Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State will do whatever the money people tell them to do.
Yeah, they'll go on the road. We're cool going on the road. We're not going to play a home game on a Friday night. That's easy. I tell Kevin Warren, I'm saying, hey, you know the deal. And that's the case right now.
Yeah. I mean, I see this going to a place where eventually teams are just going to have to deal with it.
See, I could see UCLA and USC Friday night's no big deal.
Absolutely.
We already play on Friday nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the Pac-12 likes them some Friday night football.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, the Big 12 for a while there had these really good Friday night matchups. I think that really famous RG3 versus Oklahoma game was a Friday night game where he kind of cemented his Heisman that year. So I love Friday night games. I think they're a ton of fun. I know for the high school football crowd around here, they don't necessarily love it, especially when it involves Nebraska.
But let's be honest. So this year, Rutgers, Nebraska was on a Friday night, and I did a game on TV that night, and it really didn't impact the attendance because you know what? Now you can go to a high school game
and still watch the game
and
on your
watch
phone.
the game on your phone while you're sitting there watching your son play or your daughter, whatever. You can sit there in the stands and watch it. I mean, when this all first started, we didn't have as many games on our phone as we have now.
Yeah, and
so that changes a little bit
because I don't think coverage wasn't as good.
Because the fear is, what's that going to do to our gate on Friday nights? I mean, the gates are already down in a lot of places on Friday nights in this state, and you worry about, oh my gosh, is people going to come? Are they going to stay at home? No, I think I found throughout Omaha on that Friday night, people still went to their high school game. And they sat there and they watched the Nebraska game while they're watching a live game in front of them. So that's changed a little bit, but I just don't think that'll change Nebraska going, oh yeah, okay, we're good. We're on a Friday night. But get ready, more volume on Friday nights for football, and I think especially basketball.
It's certainly, and basketball is easier because you don't have I get that high school basketball teams also play on Friday nights, but it's not the only night they play for the most part during the week. So it's a little easier for basketball season to kind of creep in there. But you're right. It certainly is the being able to watch games on your phone is a huge difference maker here. When I was in high school, I literally went to Best Buy and bought one of those tiny but giant televisions so that I could watch a Red Sox game while I went to a Millard North football game. The principal was like, what is happening here? But
that is wild to think that people used to have those little TVs.
It was like a box.
They would bring to games.
It was heavy.
I remember the little ones. They were like the little almost Walkman.
Yeah, no, it wasn't one of those. It was one of the big ugly ones. I got one of the little ones later, but I'm like spending the whole day or the whole time trying to fix the antennas and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Just bring it up on your phone. There's an app now, which is really nice. Would have been very useful at the time. But, there is that advantage where, and that's where I think you're onto something with it being road games versus home games. Because if it's a home game, it is going to affect the gate, right? You are going to have a lot of people that have to make a decision between, okay, are we going to our high school game? Are we going to the Nebraska game? But I also think it's one a year. Like at the end of the day, you're talking about one game a year. And I think at some point, that's probably a sacrifice Nebraska's going to make.
Over to Vanny's dead body.
Well, that's easy to do.
A little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen will join us. Steve Sipple. We'll get his thoughts on what happened yesterday around here. Talk some offensive line play. Ask us anything at 9:30. Get your questions into Jimmy at 1620thezone.com and Brian Edwards as well on The Zone.
Spiro Ditas here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli this week for Thursday Night Football from Southern California when the LA Rams host the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr in Las Vegas are on a roll and looking for a fourth straight win. Can they do it on the road against Sean McVay's injury-struck Rams? Join us to find out on Thursday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has been making your game day experience one to remember for 18 years with our award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. But now your game day just got bigger and better with Oscar's newly upgraded audio-video system. Cheer on your favorite teams this season in front of a 22-foot LED video wall, showing up to 8 games at once, and of course, 40 TVs and massive dual projectors. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
If you love attending events like I do, there's no better tool for you than the Tickets for Less app. This free Tickets for Less app puts all of your area's top events in one place, or you can simply search for the event you want right on the home screen. And for a limited time, if you download the app and you register, you're going to receive a special discount sent directly to your phone when you download the app and create a free account. If you're looking to lock in your seats for a big concert or sporting event this holiday season, all you have to do, download the Tickets for Less app and save big today.
Hard to believe week 14 of the NFL is here, and you got to start it off right with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, you'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. We have Raiders, we have Rams. I think the surest bet in the game is a Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown. Maybe you parlay that with a Devontae Adams touchdown as well. Take the Raiders on the money line, and boom, you got yourself a same-game parlay for Thursday night. You could build one like that or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you could bet on the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. All you got to do is sign up with promo code HAPPER if you don't already have an account. If you already have one, you are ready to go. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa, 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Last year, I enrolled my family for health care coverage through the health insurance marketplace. Do I need to enroll again?
Yes, we have seen the plans available through the marketplace change, and new options may be available. You must re-enroll for 2023 to ensure you or your family are in the right plan for your budget and needs. Charles Drew Health Center in Omaha can help. Just call 402-451-3553 to set up an appointment with a team member.
I don't have health coverage, and I'm worried that if I get sick, I can't afford the medical bills. How do I get started?
Getting started is easy and free. Just call to set up an appointment with a Navigator enrollment specialist. We will explain your coverage options, answer any questions, help you enroll, and see if you qualify for financial assistance. Open enrollment is November 1st through January 15th. Re-enroll in healthcare coverage or enroll for the first time. Call Charles Drew Health Center at 402-451-3553 to set up an appointment.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
1620 The Zone.
All right, as Matt Rule's staff is coming together, everybody's waiting on the defensive coordinator hire. We've talked a lot about Glenn Schumann, whose name has been mentioned. Well, USA Today, which has gone all in today, they're doing their salaries. So the highest paid assistant coach, the highest paid strength and conditioning coach, which Oklahoma State has $1 million strength and conditioning coach. Which is a little bit surprised if you would think of places around the country. Oklahoma State doesn't come to mind that they would be the first to drop $1 million on a strength and conditioning coach. But also, USA Today this morning has the highest paid assistant coaches, but the next in line to be the next up-and-comer, Glenn Schumann made that list. $805,000 he gets paid at Georgia.
As a co-DC.
He's been a force on the recruiting trail and helped the Bulldogs keep humming. He's a hot commodity.
He is a hot commodity. That's why he's going to be a head coach.
See, I'd go to work for Kirby Smart. Again, Dan Lanning, Mel Tucker.
Yeah, you get
Sam Pittman.
You get jobs.
You go to Georgia, you have success. People respect in the business Kirby Smart. And then you go on to the next head coaching job. Now, I don't know that Will Muschamp will ever be a head coach again at a Power 5 level. And you know what? I would think being the defensive coordinator at Georgia is pretty good right now. But Glenn Schumann, 32 years of age.
Yeah, Will Muschamp may have used all of his chances.
And I think he's content with that. Good paycheck, Coach D. I mean, he's the guy who had the famous quote to some reporters in Austin when they asked him, "You have any hobbies?" He says, "Sure, I do. I coach ball."
Yeah, I don't know if Glenn Schumann is in the stars for Nebraska.
Glenn Schumann's name I did not see come up for the Purdue job, which is now open with Jeff Brahm leaving. But
yeah,
Craig Bull's name was thrown out there.
Oh, we were talking about this yesterday.
A host of others.
Another Wyoming coach to Purdue. Okay.
Coming up in the next hour, the Big Ten for one more year in the West. Times are changing. So 3 new head coaches will be in the West as of right now. I don't think there'll be a 4th. But Wisconsin also made an interesting hire. Are Wisconsin fans ready for the air raid in Madison with the addition of an assistant from North Carolina to be the OC? We'll get into that coming up in the next hour. Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards, all here for you on a Thursday with Robbie, Jimmy, and Gary on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. The Zone Hotline is powered by Los Hills Harley-Davidson, your home in the hills. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some significant slowdown near 90th and L. Then along Highway 370, be prepared for some minor slowdowns from 144th all the way to 72nd. And then on Center, it looks like things are slowing down just a little bit from 180th to 165th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Help someone on your Christmas list get their Fernando's fix with Fernando's gift cards. Buy $100 and get a $20 gift card for yourself. Only at 75th and Pacific or 114th and Dodge. Hurry, offer ends soon. Feliz Navidad from Fernando's. FernandosOmaha.com.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
Your Omaha hockey team is back on the road, heading to Colorado College this Friday and Saturday. Pregame is at 8 p.m. Friday night. Puck drops at 8:30. It's UNO at Colorado College this weekend on your home for Maverick Hockey. News Talk 1290.
Give gifts from Greenberg's and receive a Shields gift card worth up to $500. Choose from stunning diamond engagement rings, anniversary rings, pendants, earrings, and more. It will be a perfect gift for both of you. Make a $500 purchase and receive a $50 Shields gift card. $1,000, get a $100 gift card. $2,000, get a $300 gift card. $3,000, get a $500 gift card. Hurry into Greenberg's for this limited time holiday offer. Westroads Mall.
Having a hard time finding the perfect gift for someone? Do they eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner? If so, a gift card for Bailey's Breakfast and Lunch, Chuck's Fish House, and Absolutely Fresh Seafood Market is the way to go. Order online at absolutelyfresh.com and have one mailed or emailed to the recipient of your choice.
Holiday shopping? Back by popular demand, stop by Cops at 72nd and Jones, Shadow Lake Town Center, or 180th and Center to grab a bite and buy a gift card. Cops gift cards are sure to please. Cops makes delicious pizza, fresh salad, and tasty charred wings with a variety of homemade sauces. They even offer keto crusts. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cops, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. 72nd and Jones, the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or click copspizza.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7, with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
All right, as we come back in this hour, this is breaking news. Brittany Griner, who has been held for months in the Russian prison on drug charges, has just been released in a one-for-one prisoner swap with an international arms dealer. This is being reported across all of the major news sites, according to a U.S. official. So Brittany Griner is out of the Russian prison on drug charges and will be headed back to the U.S.
You were just talking about her the other day about
yesterday, right?
Was.
Yeah, and that's for many, that is a good way to start the day. It's always a good way to start the day with the Zone in the morning from 6 to 10. There's Robbie, Jimmy, and Gary. Sarah Baker Hansen, get our food game right coming up at 8.
We got some catching up to do with her.
Yes, we do. Ahead of the Christmas holiday. I think this will be the last time we talk to her before Christmas. We will talk some Nebraska basketball. Last night, without Sam Griesel, they lost to Indiana, which I'm still blown away. Not by the result, because I think that was to be expected when you lose your key ball handler. I mean, Derek Walker, when he heard the news, must have been, oh, dang.
Yeah.
Because he suffered the most. But in the game, Trace Jackson Davis, who has monster games against Nebraska, and in that 16-point win last night, he had another big night. He had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. Two things. I was shocked that is the first ever triple-double against Nebraska.
Oh, that is surprising.
First time ever. Famous Seamus McKnight. Let everybody know. And then here's another little nugget. Of the long history of Indiana basketball,
ooh, this is a good one.
Of all of the players, do you know that TJD's triple-double last night is only the third time that's ever happened in Indiana basketball history? That blew me away.
It's kind of shocking how rare triple-doubles are at the college level. It's something that just does not happen very often, because there's a lot of those types of stats at really, really good programs who have had unbelievably good players over the course of their history. And you're like, what do you mean there's only been 3 triple-doubles ever? Or like Creighton has not had a triple-double since Benoit Benjamin, and they've never had a traditional triple-double.
How in the hell did Benoit Benjamin have a triple-double that he passed the ball? Oh, blocks.
Wow.
I was going to say.
No, blocks.
Hey,
they've never had
I saw him many times.
0-0 was not passing the basketball.
They've no, they've never had a traditional triple-double of points, rebounds, assists. The only ones they've ever had were with blocks, I believe with Benoit Benjamin. And so, yeah, it's anytime this comes up, though, because they were talking a lot about it with Baylor Shireman potentially having a traditional triple-double with the way the stats that he can put up sometimes. But it's one of those things where I don't think people realize how incredibly rare college triple-doubles are. Like at any university, any program, regardless of how good they are. It's probably more common at some of these lesser universities where you have one guy that has to do everything, and you end up with like I think John Morant had one for Murray State, where that dude just does everything, and he's by far the best player on a team, and everybody else is like an accounting major, and then you've got the number 2 pick in the draft on your team. They're actually more common there, it seems like, than they are at these like blue blood or perennial top 25 programs.
You know what is crazy about triple doubles, and I agree on like the mid-major level. Tradeon Hollins had a triple double when he was playing for Omaha.
Steals,
and there were like 4 or 5.
Did he have one with steals? Yeah,
he had one with steals, but he also had points, rebounds, and assists. So he had 2 triple doubles while he was playing at Omaha, and probably could have had 2 more.
Yeah. Well, he was incredibly productive at Omaha.
For those 2 years, man, he led the country in steals.
Yeah, I mean, incredibly good hands as a defender, but you're right. It's usually someone you wouldn't be necessarily expecting. Like I know Tradeon Hollins was a really good player, but a lot of people when they think of those teams maybe go Trayshawn Thurman first in terms of who they think of in their head. Despite the fact that Tradeon was really good, and at a lot of these programs. Like you'd assume, like, oh, I bet Michael Jordan had a triple-double at North Carolina. Pretty sure he didn't. Like a lot of them are these weird either steals like Tradeon Hollins or blocks like a Benoit Benjamin, where you just accumulate these weird stats. Like about Ralph Sampson had a bunch with blocks.
Yeah.
Or guys like that, where it's like it's just really hard. Like the games don't seem that much shorter, but because you are playing, 40 instead of 48, you don't get that stat accumulation you get in the NBA.
So Nebraska loses last night, and now they come home and they play Purdue on Saturday. Good luck, Zach Edey.
He's
pretty
big,
good.
big guy.
Hey, Purdue might be the best team in the country, but this is kind of college basketball so far this year. Like the basketball's good in this country right now. I think the NBA is as competitive as it's ever been.
I think it's got the highest talent level across the board it's ever had.
There's a developing parity in college basketball. I just want to give you, on this morning of the 8th of December, of Ken Palm, the top 9 teams come from 8 different conferences.
Which is great.
Houston, UConn, who beat Florida last night. UConn is 10-0. They're the first team to 10.
Good to have them back.
Now, that would help Creighton if UConn's metrics continue to be up there, because there's not other teams in the Big East right now that their metrics are good that could help you. Tennessee is 3rd. Texas is 4th. Purdue, who will play at Nebraska on Saturday, is 5th. Purdue is 9-0. Kentucky, UCLA, Virginia, Gonzaga. So the top 9 teams in Ken Palm from 8 different conferences.
Yeah, you've got a couple of non-majors in there with Gonzaga and Houston. No, that's really good for college basketball. And you get a lot of teams in there that aren't your traditional powers.
Yep.
I mean, those teams that you listed out, your Houstons, your Texas. Purdue is traditionally good, but they're not I wouldn't call them a blue blood of college basketball. And you said they might be the best team in the country. You might be right. They might be better this year after losing some NBA guys than they were last year, which is weird to think about. And then, you've got Gonzaga in there, but I like seeing a variety of teams. I think it's good for the health of college basketball to get some different teams in there and show some strength in different conferences and in some non-traditional power situations. I am going to use this opportunity just to say Kelvin Sampson is so damn good at his job.
They're my pick to win the national title in their home city.
Good. And I just don't he's totally forgotten about. And even though they've been good for a little while now at Houston, totally forgotten about. I mean, people forget that he was at Indiana at all.
Yeah.
People forget that he was really, really good at Oklahoma before taking his NBA exodus. He had a 5-year show cause for text messages. Are we serious here? I think people think of Kelvin Sampson as one of those dirty head coaches. It was
he does have that label.
It was literally over text messages.
Yeah, totally not fair. Then went to the pop rehab, and
there's people that are indicted on charges by the FBI that have less of a stink than Kelvin Sampson does. I don't understand it, and he's one of the best college basketball coaches in the country.
Yep.
His OU teams were really good.
Bar none. Eduardo Nahara.
Yeah. And the talent level that he's accumulated at Houston and the way they play, they're a tough out when you get to March.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's why I picked him to win the national title. Now,
I like him.
Another one of those that are in there is UConn, who won last night against Florida. Florida basketball. Wow. I mean, hello, can Billy Donovan come back?
I was say, where have we gone?
But UConn is now 10-0, and they have 5 wins against teams that are in the top 50 in the Ken Palm. And everybody's talking about the Hurley brothers, who Creighton will see Arizona State on Monday in Vegas. And I think Arizona State's now 8-1. But UConn is the first to get to 10 wins in college basketball. Hey, that's great. You're inside of the top 9 in the Ken Palm. But until you beat Creighton, I am not taking Connecticut basketball seriously. So I'm going to wait on any judgment on UConn until January 7th when Creighton and UConn play in Stores, because that's the nemesis. Connecticut, everybody tells me how good Connecticut is, but they never beat Creighton. So until you beat Creighton, I'm not going to take UConn seriously. You got a good roster. This is a good start, but the team that is above you in your own conference, they've beaten Villanova. They just can't beat Creighton. So I'll wait till January 7th before I make any assessment of the UConn Huskies.
Yeah, it's certainly a test that UConn has to pass in order to be taken seriously. Listen, everybody knows I'm a Creighton homer. It has been.
No, you're not.
Listen,
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm super objective.
What this week would give anybody an indication that you were a Creighton homer?
Listen, I thought I handled this week very well and fairly.
Yeah, you ate your crow. It was okay.
I think the results have been more fluky against UConn because it's not like Creighton is blowing them out, right? These are all very close games. A lot of them could go either way. So it's not one of those things where Creighton just looks in a different class than UConn. These are two very evenly matched teams that Creighton has just happened to win. I think Creighton's been a little bit better, so you would expect an advantage there a little bit. But the fact that UConn has failed to beat Creighton at any point since rejoining the Big East is, to me, more fluky than it is on them not being good enough.
We'll talk more about Nebraska's game last night in Bloomington, but prepare yourself. I think the best team in college basketball right now, Purdue, is rolling into Lincoln on Saturday, which will be a big weekend in Lincoln. Official visits. Maybe, just maybe, you'll get a sighting of somebody you don't recognize that'll be there with a recruit that you go, oh, not officially announced, but look who's in town as an assistant under Matt Rule.
Interesting.
Maybe that could happen. And, everybody will be looking.
Oh, yeah. There'll be camera phones out everywhere.
Because the recruits they have on campus this weekend, they will make it a big deal. The next 2 weekends are huge for Nebraska in terms of recruiting. Stephen M. Sipple coming up in a little over an hour. We'll get his thoughts on everything that went on as the staff is being assembled. And another guy in the portal, in Jamari Butler. But first, to kick off this hour, here is Nebraska Ball Mike. Hello, Mike. Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. Listen, I wonder if two things I wonder about Matt Rule. I wonder if he doesn't call Scott Frost, or if he looks at Scott Frost's resume and says, the guy went 16-31, I'm not keeping anybody. Or did he keep him because he called him and said to keep him? Or does the guy look at tape at all?
So I'm just gonna go to the finish line here and think that you're in the category of you hated the news yesterday.
Listen, I'm 42 years old. I have special needs. I have no business telling Matt Rule what to do. He's a great coach. He wanted to be here, but why him?
Well, there's
why?
So that's a fair question that we're all trying to figure out the why. I think Robbie and I made a lot of sense yesterday on why Matt Rule looked at the current offensive line situation at Nebraska, maybe looked at Donovan Raiola and his track record still being young as a coach and his history of helping young coaches grow, his also knowledge of the offensive line and thinking, you know what, you've been dealt a bad hand. I'm essentially going to give you a mulligan because we in our structure and we as bodies, I think we as a group can help the offensive line. But it's the coach that's probably going to get the most questions about when Matt Rule talks about his staff, and I think that is fair, but it's the great unknown. This is the retention that is the unknown that Matt Rule says, trust me. Here's the question, and I'll let you continue with the call, Mike, and you can answer this, and Robbie, and when we get through on the other side. Would it change people's opinion if it's just you're finishing out the contract, or it's a brand new 2-year deal? You don't have to answer that, Mike. I'm just throwing that out there, but continue on.
All I know is I don't think any other coach who would have been here would have kept him. And I hope he knows what he's doing, and I hope the mulligan's not more than a year.
Okay.
If somebody is horrible underneath you and another guy, guess what? It's him.
Well, I here's the thing. I think on this current staff with this current head coach that there are more people that will hold the head coach accountable and he'll hold others accountable. And if things aren't working, he will not wait to make a move. And that's why Donnie Raiola becomes the target and everybody's eyesight for the next year on what happens with the offensive line, because it's now all on Matt Rule. I don't think this is on Donovan Raiola.
No, it's more on Matt Rule.
This is on Matt Rule.
Is it a matter of everybody being healthy and we would have been better?
I mean, that would have helped. You have everybody available, right? You lost 2 starters before Oklahoma. You know?
What about the guy who got suspended at the first of the year? Is he back too?
He is back.
Newell is back, yes.
Okay, so we have 3 bodies that weren't in the room before. Now, do we go get 5 people to help them?
Well, that's an issue that this is not going to be fixed in 23. You got some serious depth issues that you're going to have to build back. And I don't say you can't take shortcuts with your offensive line. I mean, it's going to have to be a pause, somehow piece it together until you build up your depth, but build it up with high school players. And be better at evaluating when you bring offensive linemen into the program. I mean, there's too much of a run now where Nebraska has misevaluated offensive linemen that aren't here. They hardly even get on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an empty space. They have to be better. But this is probably about a 2-3 year fix of the offensive line. And it should have really started last year, but in your current situation, you couldn't do that. So, but this is on Matt Rule. Matt Rule is saying to you, Mike, he's coming to your house and he's saying, trust me on this one. I've coached offensive line. I know what I'm doing. I see something here. I'm going to tell you what I see, and then hopefully that'll come to fruition next fall. Because there's a lot of doubters, and I understand the doubters. We're trying to explain the why you would retain somebody off an offensive line that was one of the poorest in the history of Nebraska football in terms of the metric.
Here's the last question I'll ask.
All right.
How long do you think it's going to take Matt Rule to realize this fan base is not a normal fan base? We pay attention to stuff that normal fan bases don't care about.
Oh, no, I think you mean we talk offensive line and other things, and we love football, and we got passion for it, and sometimes we're crazy?
Yes.
Oh, I think you know that before you get into this job.
I think he found that out on his little secret visit to Lincoln.
Yeah.
I hope so. I like him. I hope he does the right thing. I hope he's paying attention. I'm still nervous about what's going on in Colorado, but that's only one game. We'll get through that too. We'll talk to you guys later.
Huh? Mike say 0-3? Start the year?
I think so.
He's already got the home loss. That'd be a bad. Well, I mean, last head coach here didn't get off to a great start.
0-6, I believe. Not great. Part of the problem with Raiola is that he was a bad hire last year. For what they needed last year, he was a bad hire at the time. That doesn't mean he's a bad coach.
He was a weird hire.
So
he was very much a weird hire.
Here's why I say bad hire at the time. Last year, you knew this was a one shot to get everything right. That's why Whipple was a weird hire. Whipple's offenses have typically taken 2 or 3 years to get going. You knew you had 1 year. Donovan Raiola is kind of a developmental project as a offensive line coach, hadn't had his own room before, coming from the NFL, and you hire him for a 1 year last shot going out of business sale, right? Both of those were very weird hires for the situation that you had. That doesn't mean he's a bad hire now. And I don't know that I think people are having a hard time getting that part of it out of their head, because I actually do think he was the wrong choice last year for what was needed at the time. But for what Matt Rule has been looking for, he actually makes way more sense than what Scott Frost should have been looking for. And again, that doesn't mean he's going to be good. That doesn't mean he's going to be bad. It just means he makes more sense as a hire this year than he did last year. But it's really hard to separate those two things.
I'm curious to see what the contract is, because we made $325,000 last year. And
which is not much.
The assistants outside of Mickey were 2-year guys,
yeah,
which is normal. Is it just the finishing out of his contract, or will he have a brand new contract?
That'll be interesting, because
that will also be in the discussion of maybe trying to figure out the why from the Matt Rule perspective. If it's just to finish out the contract that he signed last year, or it's a brand new 2-year deal with, if it's a brand new 2-year deal, there's a salary bump in there from 325.
Yes. Also, for what it's worth, with my conspiracy yesterday about Jim Leonard, I was told by multiple people.
Who are these people?
Just randos, if I'm being honest.
Remember, you don't hire randos, but you talk to randos.
Well, yes, that's what the internet's is for.
You hope at your age and with your current situation being married, you don't bring a rando home. But
no.
I was wondering when that would come.
To each their own. I mean, it's a lifestyle that some people are into.
There's way more chance that I bring home a random like dog or cat than I do a random person. You know how I feel about people in my home, Gary. We've established this. Too much chaotic energy to bring randos to my house. Not a fan.
Your wife is very happy hearing that phrase. That statement.
You dog. Got it.
But this is what I've been told by a couple different people on the internet machine, okay? That not only was Donovan Raiola and Jim Leonard teammates for 3 years, they were GD roommates, Gary. Where there's smoke, there's fire, my friend.
So I'm going to add to this. I'm just going to
pour the gasoline on. Let's go. Get the petrol.
I'm at the camp out. I'm going to walk right into the fire pit. Donovan Raiola said, hey, you retained me. And this is just we're just having fun here. Do not go crazy on the board. I have enough of that. That Donnie said, hey, I'm a 325 guy. I don't need a bump. You'll save some money so that you can chase after a big name defensive coordinator that may stretch your budget. And just, give me a little love. I took one for the team in terms of my cash.
Yeah.
So that we could have somebody that could help win football games here.
Yeah. Give me that extra year on the deal. Maybe I'll take $350 for 2 years. That's a bargain as an O-line coach. You can go spend 1.5, 1.7 on your DC, which is what it would take to get a Jim Leonard.
Just remember, with Matt Rule, when it comes to offensive line, there are Baylor football players that played for Matt Rule. They didn't hide this. They were pretty open, and I don't know how the full-time offensive line coach felt at Baylor, but they said that Matt Rule spent a lot of time, like not just observing the offensive line, but getting in with the offensive line and coaching the offensive line at Baylor.
Well, listen, if you're a line of scrimmage guy, that's what he's preaching, is I'm a line of scrimmage coach. We work from the inside out. And you have a large enough area of expertise to be hands-on with that makes sense. It's not any different than, Jimbo Fisher being a quarterback's hands-on guy. That's where his expertise at least used to be. Don't know where it is now. But he was very hands-on with his quarterbacks. Same thing with Frost in the offense. That's where his area of expertise was. So he called plays. It's really not that different. It's just we don't see it as often because usually that's not the path that guys get to be head coaches.
All right, so we're looking for some happy talk on a Thursday concerning Donnie, because yesterday...
Listen, Jim Leonard's happy talk. Let's go.
Jim Leonard is not Donovan Raiola.
No, but Donovan Raiola leads to Jim Leonard. Roommates, Gary, not just teammates, but roommates. Donovan Raiola is the key that opens the door to get you Jim Leonard.
You wanted happiness today. You got it.
Here we go.
Did you know that Tommy Armstrong and Jordan Westerkamp were roommates?
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. So, it can happen.
It can happen. People are friends.
Here is Donnie. Donnie, good morning.
You wanted positivity. You picked up the wrong line, Gary.
All right. That's okay. I know your feelings.
I've had a lot of roommates in my life. I'm not hiring them to do jack freaking squat. I'm not hiring them to mow my lawn. I would love if we could all just take a step back, Husker fans, including those calling sports talk shows from inside a pickle jar. Would you just pump the brakes after the last 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years? We as fans have lost the right to judge talent when it comes to coaching because we have been wrong all the time. With every coach that's come through here, we've convinced ourselves, that guy, he's probably going to be a good coach. And guess what? He wasn't. So let's pump the brakes. Let's let Matt Rule do what he's going to do, where he's been successful at doing what he does at other places. And by the way, one thing that annoys me more than anything on this planet is that we are we a good fan base? Yes. Are we special and one of a kind? Oh my God, no. Go to a game in the SEC. Go down to Kansas. They got good fans. Go down to Oklahoma. They got good fans. Stop convincing yourself that we are the only ones that are great college football fans. Keith Jackson was wrong. Have a good day, guys.
Oh, no. It can be a walk-off that you just say Keith Jackson was wrong. Keith Jackson's never wrong.
Yeah, I don't
I don't think he's right there.
I don't think he's right there.
But You'd rather be at a place that has a bunch of passion.
There are other good fan bases.
Even with the crap storm that's happened for 6 years around here and longer, people still have passion for that program and that sport, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But are sometimes we irrational? Hell yes.
Irrationally passionate is better than apathy.
Yeah.
Right? Apathy is what kills programs.
Good job, Dr. Lula.
Apathy is what kills programs. It's not passion and being irrational kills programs, because as long as you still care, there's still a chance. Apathy is when it's dead.
I would be curious, something that Donnie said, because he was making his comment. Assistant coaches that your opinion changed on at Nebraska, where they were hired and your initial look through their resume or what you know about them, you're like, that's a bad hire. That when their time was done at Nebraska, you went, you know what, they were pretty good.
So I think
I gotta go through the database here, but I'm gonna have an answer for you before 10 o'clock.
Right off the top of my head, and this guy, he didn't end well, but he rode the roller coaster quite a bit, was Chenander. Started off, people did not think he was a very good hire. By year 4, they were like, man, he might be the best coach on the staff. And then this year, obviously, it fell off the cliff. So he rode quite a bit of a roller coaster there. But that's one that came to mind of the opinion on him changed dramatically at some point. Well, twice, I guess, at some points. But I will say, I'm going to push back on Donnie here for a second. Donnie. I don't know what happened there. I've been talking about Boston too much this morning. I'm going to push back on you, Donnie.
It doesn't even include the Celtics, but go on.
Rafael Devas. No. I don't think there's very many places around the country that have fan bases like Nebraska. Nebraska is not totally unique. Like, obviously, there's a lot of passion in the SEC. There's a lot of passion in places like Texas and Oklahoma, but it is still one of the best fan bases in the country. I think that is without a doubt. Is it the only good fan base in the country? No, that's silly. But especially considering all of the other, geographic factors, the lack of current success, things like that, I think it's one of the most resilient fan bases in the country.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most loyal fan bases in the country. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Nebraska's got the only good fan base in the country. That's just not accurate. But to say that they're in the same category as Kansas or anyone else who's not in the top tier of fan bases is disingenuous.
Yeah, I can say from personal experience, that's false.
It's false almost everywhere. There's SEC schools. Like, Kentucky football doesn't care about football the way Nebraska does. Basketball, sure. But, there's like half the SEC doesn't care about football.
People in Kentucky will care about football when Graham Mertz is their quarterback.
Saw that too this morning.
They'll care about football. I'm not sure I'm not sure they're going to care the way that they want them to care. I think they might find some frustrations with old Graham there.
See, I would like more of the Big Ten to kind of share what we have over here. Like, I would like to go on the Big Ten Network and be the Feinbaum, where I have my own show.
That'd be great.
Could we have a Feinbaum type show on BTN where we get a radio show that also is on TV every day, like Feinbaum, because Feinbaum is on the SEC Network, but he's
the SEC puppet.
Markets.
Yeah,
it's the mouth of the South.
Yeah,
he's a puppet. I think
mascot. I should say mascot. I meant mascot.
Yeah. Well, he is
a mascot for the SEC.
People are passionate in that part of the country.
Absolutely.
That you can carry a 4-hour show and it's primarily about one conference. Could you do that in the Big Ten outside of about 3 or 4 different areas?
Yeah, I don't know if you can do it for the whole Big Ten. You can certainly do it for certain portions of the Big Ten. I mean, we talked about an offensive line coach for about 2 hours yesterday, so I think Nebraska can carry that for sure. But I think it's really disingenuous to say that Nebraska's fan base is anything less than extraordinary. They are not the only good fan base, but they are certainly one of the best.
All right. Mike, stay right there. Sarah's under the weather today, so we will get her next week. Stephen M. Sipple coming up in less than an hour. You're on Mornings on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
How many Big Ten head football coaches could name 3 Pokemon?
You got to think about the youngest coach, first of all, because maybe he would have grown up in the era of Pokemon. And who is the youngest coach in the Big Ten?
If I had to pick one, PJ Fleck.
Bingo. He's probably the guy.
If there is a one.
I got one for you. Mr. Sexhaver himself, Luke Fickell, with his 8 kids.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Winter weather advisory will be in effect for Thursday. Expect a dry morning commute in the metro with freezing rain arriving after 10 a.m. That freezing rain will transition to rain in the afternoon, though staying chilly with highs in the mid-30s. Some light icing accumulation possible with higher amounts north and west in the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We're getting reports of a disabled vehicle near South 144th Street in Harrison, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Along Dodge, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 94th to 90th. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for some pretty significant delays from 149th to 138th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
Through January 4th, 2023, enter non-winning Nebraska Lottery Holiday Wishes scratch tickets for a chance to win $1, $5, or $10,000. It's the Holiday Wishes Second Chance promotion, so enter today. Top prize odds vary by game.
Haven't been to 42 degrees lately? Then you should, with the largest selection of glass and water pipes, vaporizers, kratom, CBDs, and more. Our staff is the friendliest and most knowledgeable in Omaha. 42 degrees, by your mom's house.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Thanks to Total Wine, you saved more on all the gifts for the ones you adore. Wine, spirits, beers, all nestled on shelves. Got some advice from our helpful elves. Oh, so many gifts to explore when you go to Total Wine and more. Bottles so delightful, whoa. Price so amazingly low.
Love what you find. Always lowest prices at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wages up to $20.10 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply at the Holiday Inn Blair Monday through Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and the Florence City Hall Thursday and Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for on-the-spot interviews. Unable to attend? Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Here's this week's Maverick Minute. Omaha Hockey completed a weekend sweep over number 14 Western Michigan with a 3-1 win last Saturday. The Mavs head back to the road this weekend to take on the Colorado College Tigers. The Maverick men's basketball team fell on the road to Mean Green Saturday. North Texas hit 9 threes in the second half, powering to a 75-45 win. And that's your Maverick Minute on News Talk 1290, 1180 The Zone, and 1620 The Zone.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone. I went through it a while back. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text POWER to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text POWER to 321-321. That's POWER to 321-321.
Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
Bill Jones.
And Olivia.
Here for Jones Bros Cupcakes. Have you tried our new chimney cones yet, Olivia?
They are so yummy.
Chimney cones are stacked on a sugar-coated croissant cone with gelato. We have flavors like birthday cake, strawberries and cream, s'mores, salted caramel, and more.
I love the birthday cake chimney cone topped with a mini cupcake. So good.
Come see us at Jonesboro's Cupcakes and Cafe in Exarban Village.
We appreciate your support.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Sharp. Join me for We Got a Podcast, driven by Woodhouse Auto Family. We get more in depth, have a guest or two, and drop nuggets of info you haven't heard anywhere else. Join us for We Got a Podcast, driven by Woodhouse Auto Family, every Friday in the show page on 1620thezone.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
1620 The Zone.
All right, 10 a.m. this morning, Nebraska and Oregon. Volleyball. Louisville, one of the best offenses in the country in Oregon against one of the best defenses in Nebraska. We'll see what Nebraska has for the pin hitters for Oregon. We'll talk a little bit more about the matchup coming up after the 8 o'clock hour. Stephen M. Sipple, Brian Edwards a little bit later on. We have Thursday night football on the Zone tonight, the Raiders and the Rams from Los Angeles, as the Raiders are 6.5-point favorites. Carr and Adams seem to be in sync. I think Josh Jacobs will play. Who knows who's playing for the Rams? But I'm all in for Devontae Adams embarrassing Mr. Ramsey again.
Oh, yeah, I'm always here for that.
Same. And the Rams are not good at defending a number one wide receiver.
No, which is a tough look for Jalen Ramsey since they paid him a lot to be able to cover number one wide receivers.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how, this is a little off topic here, but how quickly the best cornerback in the league becomes not good at all. Like it goes really, really quick. And there's 3 years where a guy's awesome and the consensus shutdown corner in the league. And then a year and a half later, he's on the garbage heap. It's happened. The one that comes to mind the most is Nnamdi Asomugha, who was incredible and a shutdown dude. And then he was cut a year later and the 49ers picked him up and he couldn't even get on the field.
Well, Revis had his 3-4 run where he was the best.
Absolutely. And then he was gone. Those guys, they cycle through the best at that. Because 3 years ago, Jalen Ramsey was you couldn't touch him.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden he's still got that huge bloated contract and he gets just burned by everybody. It's super weird.
Baker Mayfield could play tonight for the Rams.
They say he's up to speed.
That's wild.
And John Wofford's got a neck thing. He's questionable.
A neck thing. Is that what it says on the injury report?
It just says questionable parentheses neck.
A neck thing.
I'm just going to call it a neck thing.
He's got a goiter on the neck.
I mean, I don't think he's going full Frank Beamer on me here, but
why'd you have to go there?
Listen, you say goiter.
No. Why'd you? I didn't say Frank Beamer.
I said it,
and you said Frank Beamer.
You say goiter, the first thing I think of is Frank Beamer every single time.
Why you got to do that to him? Things are already bad at Virginia Tech.
Did he not have a goiter? Is that not accurate?
He was a Hokie. Here's Random Mike. On that note, hi, Mike.
I got to say, you guys are a special team. I am enjoying this.
Thank you, sir.
You got a hell of a producer. So I hope. Hey, Robbie, you are MVD. You know what that stands for?
I don't.
Most valuable dude. If I'm running a radio station, having a guy like you, I mean, look what, you fill in everywhere. I mean, this is good. But hey, one of your YouTube dudes, messengers, called me a clown. I don't think he meant it as a compliment, but it's true.
What? Hold on here. So someone called you a clown, and
I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to respond, Mike, to a 1620 The Zone TV commenter?
I didn't recognize his name, but we're trying to find out who he is. But it's true. And this whole Random Mike thing, it was from Severe, and I said, Severe, you named it. And at first, I wasn't too crazy about it because I don't think it was meant as a comment. Well, Severe said, well, it was one of his callers at the Random Mike, and he kind of probably said it with contempt. But it's true. But these a-holes, we need a-holes, and Damon made it very clear. The great team we had some a-holes on the team, correct?
Yeah. So are you saying that you're the a-hole of 1620?
No,
you don't strike me as that. We've known each other for a long time.
They're right. But
okay.
Hey, random thought. Texas high school football coaches. Hey, Gary, you do a lot of high school football.
Yeah.
Remember Haberman at Westside?
Yes, I do.
He's in Northern Illinois. Damon loved him, did he not?
Mm-hmm.
And Damon said Nebraska should have went after him, but again, he wasn't as tall as they liked. He played both sides.
Yes,
so
he did.
These guys play both sides of the ball. And I remember Tim Ryder. He switched from offense to defense halfway into his college career. Him and Neil Smith were one of the best 1-2 punches in the country. Now, who played next to Sue? I can't remember his name. He was a great player.
Jared Crick.
Jared Crick.
There you go. I saw Crick. Here's random for you. With a bunch of other guys at the Golden Corral in Lincoln, on 27th Street. Now, isn't that one of the tragedies that they've closed down because of COVID?
Okay.
Okay, I saw him there, and I thought, man, that's Tim. That's Crick. He's great, but boy, he's slender. He kind of looked like maybe a tight end, and they had him playing in the middle. He got hurt, but they were a great 1-2 punch. There's so many guys. Remember Steinkuhler? We didn't know if he was going to play offense or defense.
Yeah, he was mismanaged coming out of high school. I think, I don't know. I think he could have been a great offensive lineman, but
there you go. We need offensive linemen. Here's the thing. In Texas, there got to be a huge number of guys that aren't playing because maybe they're first in college. They were great offensive linemen, and maybe they're third team D linemen not playing in college, and their coaches know how good they are, and that if they switch, they could really help us in a hurry. And he's got this great relationship with it. It's a great story of how they love him in Texas because of what he did. And they're guys that can switch positions that aren't playing somewhere, come here, and they're tremendous talent. This could happen. First of all, don't you think we ought to schedule some Texas colleges for the next few years so that we're playing in Texas because we can get some more great players from Texas? Don't you think that'd be a good idea?
I think their connections to Texas will do enough. I mean, it was an advantage in the Big 12. You know, football, when Nebraska was in the Big 12, football still had you could go anywhere, but you could sell it to a kid, hey, at least twice a year, we're going to be playing before mom and dad and all your friends and family. I don't know. I think they have enough. I think this staff has more connections in Texas, which Nebraska will be more aggressive in Texas. But let's be honest. Since Nebraska was really good, there have been a lot of teams that have been good and have come into Texas. And so, you know, you're not being able to pull the number one player out of Texas like maybe you have in the past or even in the top 10 because there are, you know, the in-state schools are better and there are more, you know, programs. I would go recruit Texas just like Texas, Florida, Georgia, Ohio. You go to the best places. I don't know about scheduling games, but I do think that Nebraska, you know, and it comes down to geography of where you are most comfortable with and your connections. And I think this staff with their connection to Texas, they will be more aggressive in the state of Texas. And maybe they uncover that hidden gem that we don't know about, or they know about somebody that's in the portal that just needs a chance, that didn't get a chance at the previous school. But in terms of changing positions, man, that's an in-depth discussion you have to have with the player. I mean, the player has to be all in on changing positions as well, because they're going to ask, why should I, and how will that benefit me in my career? And also, how well, I have to change my body. I haven't played much over there. I mean, those are in-depth, deep conversations. It's not just one day you show up at practice and say, hey, Ravi, come over here. Ravi, instead of playing tight end, I want you to play tackle.
I was really more of a fullback, but sure.
Yeah, but if you're a third team and not playing on one side of the ball, and you were great on both sides in high school, and you could do both, you're going to really
I mean, I know where you're going, Mike, but wouldn't you approach your current program to say, hey, I see I got a backload here. I'm not making progress. You know, I did play offensive line in college or in high school. Do you think there would be an opportunity for me to slide over there?
Yeah, and I'm just saying his connections with the Texas high school coaches. Yeah. There's so many great players that are in that situation, and they're in Nebraska too, but obviously a lot more in Texas. This is going to help. But Robbie, you said something about Chinander. How did you feel about Chinander going into this year, not knowing how things were going to happen this year? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was a good coach. I thought he did really, really well last year. I knew he had the advantage of having a ton of really veteran guys on last year's defense that helped it look the way it did. So I was pro Chinander after last year. I thought he might have even gotten some sniffs at a group of 5 school as a possible head coaching candidate if he had another good year. But obviously it didn't turn out that way. But yeah, I'm happy to admit I thought coming off of last year he was probably the best coach on staff.
Did any of us dream that the one coach that would be fired by Mickey Joseph it was Chenander. Yeah, after the way things were going early in the year, but not going into this year, right? I mean, it's
no.
Certainly going into the year, I did not think Chenander would be in danger.
I took it, and I probably put too much into last year being an older defense.
Yeah,
and I'm very disappointed that Eric Chenander, looking at this year's defense, and I think a lot of it had to do with, hey, we got to win. We got to win that Northwestern game.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to win the Northwestern game. And so instead of looking at your defense and realizing that the old guys that were there that knew everything and could play in a defense where there's a lot of different checks, instead of going, okay, now we have some newer guys. We don't have a Doman to run the show and to erase mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to slice down the defense a little bit, less checks. We're going to let you go play. If they would have approached it that way, would he have gotten the same result that Bill Busch got? Because Chenander's defense was predicated on guys that have been in the system for a while because there are so many different checks.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
But he was the whole program was forced to put so much into the Northwestern game because, God, we got to start out 1-0.
Right.
But and I thought, you know what? He has a good year with this defense. He could get himself in line to be on that USA Today list or get a group of 5. It didn't work out. He got fired. I'll be curious to see where Eric Chenander lands.
Yeah.
But he is one guy. You're right. This goes back to a previous call in this hour. Think of an assistant coach where you had a negative thought about him before they ever coached a down of football at Nebraska to it turned into a positive when their time was done.
Yeah.
Now the guys that leave here to go get another job on a staff that still has jobs, it's usually you're fired.
Yes.
But I would agree about Chenander, but Chenander did kind of ride the roller coaster of the reaction.
He was like Michael Scott in his vasectomy. Sip, snap, sip, snap, sip, snap, just back and forth. Couldn't decide what we thought about Eric Chenander here. I will say a guy that it's kind of already happened with a little bit on Rule staff is Ed Foley. A lot of people when Ed Foley were hired, were you on the message boards when that got hired?
Okay. Well,
I'm just saying perception. We're talking about fan perception, right?
Yeah.
The fan perception of Ed Foley when that name came out was, who is this potato?
So because he's roly-poly and he's happy.
Yes, but then people actually listen to him talk.
But here will be the thing with an Ed Foley.
Yeah.
Is he's going to be coaching a position group that the guy that was there before he got elevated to defensive coordinator is really, really popular.
Mm-hmm.
If you've learned a multitude of things over the last day about Donnie Raiola, it is that Bill Busch is extremely popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing to do with Donnie Raiola. Bill Busch is extremely popular. So he's going to coach a special teams group, which punter place kicker made strides.
Yep.
And you had a popular guy that took that under.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're not Bill Busch. You're Ed Foley. So I could see that, but I don't know. He wouldn't have been the guy that would have come to mind. This staff, we have no idea.
Right.
Okay. So this is like work in progress.
That's why it's kind of funny though, right? Especially with like a guy where you have no idea what he is as a coach, really. You decide you don't like him because you liked the last guy. And then you see some video clips and you hear people talk about him. You're like, oh, maybe I do like this guy. And this is all within a week and a half. And he's never coached football
So
yet
let's do this. Let's be fair to Donovan Raiola.
To Donnie.
To Donnie. Is his Q rating not that high?
Pretty low.
Okay. What would he have to do to change people's opinion in 1 year? Is it just Nebraska runs the ball better? Casey Thompson isn't laying on his back? Or Bryce Benhart and Turner Corcoran are not talked about very much.
So here's, I think, what it's a very similar situation to. Remember when Cam Jurgens, especially as a freshman, had all the snap problems? And by his sophomore year, it was mostly resolved. There were still a few issues, but every time it happened as a sophomore, even though it happened dramatically less, people are still like, oh, this guy and his snapping problems again, whatever, So part of the issue is going to be the perception of what's happening on the offensive line versus the reality of it is going to be tainted by A, how we feel about Donovan Raiola, and B, what we saw this past year. So every time you have a couple series where the protection's not great, it's going to be like, oh, it's the same old thing. Shouldn't have kept Donnie, shouldn't have whatever. Even if the overall performance is dramatically better. Or if you have a couple series where, you can't convert a 3rd and 1, or a 4th and 1 because you can't get a push on the line. It's going to be like, oh, this freaking Donovan Raiola guy didn't even get us Jim Leonard, couldn't even get us his nephew. And why do we retain this guy? He's such trash, where they could be dramatically better next year. But there's going to be moments where the offensive line, because this is what happens with every unit on a football team, where the unit does not perform the way you would like it to. And it's going to be viewed much more dramatically worse because of the way we feel about Donovan Raiola, the way we saw the position group perform last year. And it's probably going to take a full 2 years of being removed from this past year to actually, because by the time Cam Jurgens was a junior, didn't really talk about the snaps that much anymore, right? Mm-hmm. It's that buffer year in between where a ton of improvements been made, but we still kind of have it in the back of our mind that you're just waiting for it to fall apart, that it could be way better, and I don't know how much it'll be acknowledged.
This is going to be so much fun until August 31st.
It's going to be even more fun in like a week when we find out we just paid Jim Leonard $1.7 million, and it was all his roommate, Donnie Raiola, who got it done.
See, I want to talk about his offensive line room and how his perception could be improved. And you're saying, nope, the fast way to do that is Jim Leonard is the DC.
I'm here for it just to see Robbie flex
Jim
on
Leonard
this.
is the DC and Dylan Raiola flips from Ohio State.
Donnie will be the most popular coach this state has seen since Tom Osborne.
Donovan Raiola can coach here forever.
Make Donnie the head coach.
Coach and wait.
The fact that is just out there that people think he was hired because of his nephew.
I told you I wasn't going nephew.
That's on the person hiring.
I wasn't going nephew.
I'm glad I squelched that.
I'm going roommate here. College roomie. Jim Leonard. Here we go.
I think Marcus Satterfield has more of an impact on any quarterback coming.
Oh yeah. Jim Leonard. Yeah. 1.7 million.
Because now you told me that they were roommates.
College roommates.
But did they get along?
Listen, only one way to tell. Jim Leonard ends up in Nebraska. I think that answers that question.
1620 The Zone.
An NFL doubleheader on Sports USA. And first, we're in the Empire State as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills host Garrett Wilson and the high-flying New York Jets. Then we head to the Rockies as Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs try to wrangle the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson and Jared Judy.
Steps around one defender and goes into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
It's the Jets at the Bills, then the Chiefs at the Broncos. This Sunday on Sports USA.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Smith for Ted and Wally's. You know Ted and Wally's down there in the old market. Great place to go get ice cream no matter what time of year it is. Or in Benson, right next to Taste of New Orleans. Great place to go get your ice cream game right. And it's also a great time as well to make sure that you have some extras because you never know what's going to happen during the month of December. You have a party. Some people just stop by. Maybe it's some family that stopped by. And a great way to treat your family or your friends who stop by is with some ice cream from the freezer. Pints, quarts, half gallons. Just call ahead and tell them what flavors you want, and they'll get them set up for you when you arrive. There's over 3,000 flavors to choose from. I always mention the keto friendly because it's so good. That's right. You're on keto. You need ice cream. You head over to Ted and Wally's, and they will take care of you. Go to their social media accounts on Twitter or Facebook, and every single day you will see a list of the great flavors they have. It's over 35 years of nostalgia at its finest, made the old-fashioned way in over 100-year-old Ice Mountain freezers. Check out Ted and Wally's, both locations today.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Right now, 1 in 3 people in the Omaha Council Bluffs Metro is experiencing signs of a mental health challenge. These people are your friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors. It can be daunting to reach out, but what if you had the tools to support them? Mental health first aid training is available to help you start these conversations. Prepare yourself with an action plan for identifying and addressing mental health challenges. Learn the signs and start the conversation. Call 211 or visit UnitedWayMidlands.org to sign up for free training today.
This is Darcy with Dingman's Collision Center. We have run our business for years by helping the vehicle owner retain the value of their vehicle by working for them with warranted, safe, high-standard repairs. For this reason, Omaha vehicle owners have chosen Dingman's to repair their vehicles. Your loyalty has been shown through repeat business and amazing referrals. You've also voted us first place Best of Omaha for the past 17 years. We want to say thank you for choosing the Dingman family and our incredible technicians to repair your vehicles. At Dingman's, we'd rather be the best than apologize for anything less.
Want to do something nice for a veteran? Then stop by any 42 Degree location and receive an extra discount with your donation of can or box food and hygiene products for the Veterans Food Pantry of Omaha. Donate 2 cans and receive an extra 5%. 4 get you 10%. 6 or more, 15%. With multiple locations, the most knowledgeable and friendliest staff, and a drop-off point for all your food and hygiene products for the Veterans Food Pantry. 42 Degrees, the source by your mom's house.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com.
Pat tweets at us. I'll tell you one coach, we were 100% correct about being down on the hire, Hank Hughes, on Mike Riley's staff.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, when Hank Hughes was hired, I don't think people called into 1620 and said, that guy's a winner.
No. I wasn't here at the time. I also don't think there was this level of vitriol that there is with Donovan Raiola either.
No, because I want to remind people, because we're still getting the buddies and hiring friends. Was there an outrage when Danny Langsdorff signed off on Mike Cavanaugh, knowing that Langsdorff donated a kidney to Cavanaugh's wife when they were together at Oregon State? That's, again, you don't hire randos.
No,
you hire people that you are familiar with. I will tell you somebody who I like the hire, and this started with Mike Riley, but he kind of went through the gamut around here of do we like him or don't like him, because he was the linebacker coach. Do you know Trent Bray has aged well? Trent Bray
had a nice career.
Yeah, Trent Bray from here back to Oregon State. He is thought of as one of the top defensive coordinators in the Pac-12.
He's still only 40 years old.
Yeah, I liked
He's going to get a head coaching job.
I liked Trent Bray when they hired him. And and he said at the time, because we interviewed him, his big thing was loyalty to Mike Riley. And he kind of said the same thing that you're starting to hear some of these assistant coaches say, great loyalty to the blank head coach, and what an unbelievable opportunity to be at a place like Nebraska. But Trent Bray is that guy that I liked. And I thought, okay, because he was a younger guy. And he didn't have, I think when he was hired by Riley, he had been there maybe 3 years.
Yeah, he did not have a ton of experience.
Yeah, so he came here, and his career has really aged well. Like Trent Bray is headed in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
And that's amazing that he's only 40.
He's gonna be a head coach probably sooner rather than later.
So he was what here as a linebacker coach at 32, 33?
Yeah. He's young. He's like a lot of these guys that we're talking about with Rule in terms of age and experience and loyalty to the head coach. So we talked about this yesterday. We've been talking about it all week. And really since Rule got hired, and you mentioned it, these guys do not hire very many random people. If they don't know them directly, they had someone vouch for them that they trust that knows them directly. And it reminds me of this. There's this TED Talk on how Navy SEALs choose the people that go on missions and things like that. And the consensus among people within the Navy SEALs, and I'm not military, this is just from a TED Talk, so don't get at me about military stuff, is that they would rather have a medium performer with high trust levels than they would a high performer with medium or low trust levels.
Okay.
And I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of coaching staffs. When you have, and listen, I understand coaching football, not nearly as serious as Navy SEAL stuff, right? So let's not making that comparison. But if you have a job to do and you're in charge of putting together a team, you're going to go with, hey, do I think these guys can do the job? Like there's a base level of competency, right? That you have to meet. But if you meet that, most effective leaders would rather have somebody with a high trust factor than a higher competency level if they meet that minimum required of competency to start. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these staffs, and it's not just Matt Rule. Look at all the staffs that people put together. Nobody goes out outside of Dion, really, because he doesn't really have a network of coaches. Nobody goes out and hires mercenaries. That's not how this has ever been done. And listen, maybe they should get outside of their network a little bit sometimes. But if you're going to be in a situation where your livelihood is determined a lot by the work that other people do, you're going to hire people you trust. That's just human nature more than anything. So this is not an unusual situation with Matt Rule in Nebraska. This is the norm, not only in coaching, but in team building of basically any sort.
Coming up in the next hour, Steve Sipple will join us. You still have 90 minutes. Get in a question to Jimmy at 1620thezone.com or ask us anything. The big news of the morning outside of here, Brittany Griner has been freed from the Russian prison that she was currently being held at in exchange for an arms dealer. So the U.S. with a swap with Russia, and Brittany Griner is free. We're back with more on 1620 The Zone after this. Hey, right now, shop Woodhouse Buick GMC first and experience the difference. Large showroom, allowing you to shop inside during the cold weather over at 119th and I for all the new and pre-owned inventory. And there is inventory arriving daily. So you're thinking about a car, truck, or SUV. How about the 23 GMC Acadia, which gives you plenty of room to fit your family comfortably, 3 rows of seating, plenty of cargo, plus the luxury, the leather interior. You've got an 8-inch infotainment screen. And most importantly, as the weather is changing, and the weather here in Omaha could be a little dicey today, you got heated power folding mirrors, remote start, heated seats, heated steering wheel, traction selection system, and advanced temperature control. So you can stay safe and warm this winter in a new vehicle like the Acadia or another one from Woodhouse Buick GMC. You can also do work online where they streamline the process at woodhousebuickgmc.com. You can chat online with a team member, and they will take care of you. Take care of yourself right now. Head over to 119th and I, where you'll find Woodhouse Buick GMC. Shop Woodhouse GMC first. Their huge indoor showroom, 119th and I, or online at woodhousebuickgmc.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more, time-saving traffic center. We're getting reports of a disabled vehicle near South 144th Street in Harrison, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Along Dodge, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 94th to 90th. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for some pretty significant delays from 149th to 138th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Enjoy Romeo's Grande Pizza and Taco Combo. 1 large 2-topping pizza, 4 soft-shell tacos, chips, and queso dip for only $29.99. Only at Romeo's. Carry out only.
Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Not your typical restaurant.
There are actually 2 kinds of cigars. The first is the one you smoke with beloved family and friends. The second, the one you enjoy with friends you've just met. And you'll find both at Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge. At Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, there's a well-stocked humidor with some of the best bands from around the world, and a bar with your favorite cocktails and other drinkables. So what do you say? Which cigar will you be enjoying tonight? Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off I-680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's.
Guys, 2022's been a roller coaster year, so spoil her this Christmas by giving her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all. With soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas, exclusively from Pajamagram. Sensuous and smooth, naturally nude pajamas feel just like her own bare skin, even more alluring than lingerie. The texture and touch of these pajamas is so seductive that you'll both love the feel of them. She'll love the feeling of wearing next to nothing at all, and you'll love the way they look. Best of all, Pajamagram does the wrapping for you with free gift packaging. Order today, and Pajamagram will also include a free matching naturally nude nightie with the purchase of naturally nude pajamas. That is free gift packaging and a free naturally nude nightie when you order today. Just go to pajamagram.com. It's fast, easy, and delivery by Christmas is guaranteed. That's pajamagram.com.
Cubby's supports the PACE program with Raise Some Dough. For every large pizza sold at Cubby's in the Old Market, Cubby's gives $1 to the Police Athletic League, serving at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children with athletic and educational programs. PACE has over 5,800 program participants. The league reaches kids that would not normally be able to participate in athletics like soccer and baseball due to financial situations and family dynamics. PACE wants to give every kid the opportunity at athletics and a healthy and safe environment. If you'd like to support PACE too, go to paceomaha.org.
The holidays are here. This holiday season, we encourage you to come support our local stores in Omaha. And Westwood Plaza has everything you need to find that perfect gift. Do you have a sewer in your life? Then So Creative has the perfect holiday gift. So Creative offers a wide range of sewing machines, embroidery machines, fabric, and everything needed to get the next project started. They offer classes for all skill levels, from an absolute beginner to an advanced sewist. Come and get your holiday gifts taken care of at So Creative on 125th and Center inside Westwood Plaza. Do you have someone in your life that could use some pampering for the holidays? Then head to Love is in the Hair, 125th and Center inside Westwood Plaza. Love is in the Hair is committed to providing the best experience to every client that walks through the door and helping every individual feel their absolute best. Over 25 years of experience in hair for the entire family, whether it's highlight, color, cuts, or waxing. Everything you need to shop locally for the holidays is at Westwood Plaza in Omaha.
Your Omaha hockey team is back on the road, heading to Colorado College this Friday and Saturday. Pregame is at 8 p.m. Friday night. Puck drops at 8:30. It's UNO at Colorado College this weekend on your home for Maverick Hockey. News Talk 1290.
Are you going to tell me that there are 3 cheeseburgers takeout joints in the metro? Yepers. 3. 40th and Farnham in the Blackstone District, 168th and Harrison and Millard, and inside the Blue Sky Patio and Pickleball Complex at 107th and Pacific Street. And every single cheeseburgers brings smash burgers, hot dogs, fries, shakes, and more to all of the hungry people of the ONE. It's a thing of beauty. Cheeseburgers, a takeout joint. Keep on trucking, people.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
Halftime brought to you by Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street, next to Cubby's. It's Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
All right, we are 2 hours away, now less than 2 hours away, before Nebraska and Oregon play in the Sweet 16 in volleyball. The road to Omaha. Nebraska needs to win 2 on the road, need to beat Oregon today, and then more than likely number 1 seed in that region, Louisville, to get back to Omaha, and that would be John Cook against maybe the heir apparent in 15 years when John Cook decides to go on to do something else or move out to his house in Wyoming full-time.
Only 15 years?
You can't have John Cook leave. But if it's Danny Busboom Kelly that would replace him, who is former Husker, who's now at Louisville and doing a great job with that program, maybe you go from 15 to a little bit shorter. But never take John Cook for granted. Getting to the Sweet 16, almost seems like death taxes in Nebraska volleyball is at least going to make it to the Sweet 16. Never take that for granted.
Routine.
Never take that for granted. But Nebraska is back there. They play Oregon this morning. Oregon's got some really good outside hitters, and they've got one of the best offenses in the country. But, Nebraska defensively has been really good. Of course, overcoming the injury to Kinsey Knuckles. But I think Big Ten teams prepare Nebraska for an Oregon team that their outside hitters are pretty good. The middles will decide this match, in my opinion. And every time, and also, I think Nebraska is a good digging team, which will help to possibly set up unforced errors.
Mm-hmm.
But if Nebraska's outside hitters have a chance to finish a kill this morning, they have to finish it. I like Nebraska today. I like them in 4. Don't need the drama early of this going to 5. But at 10 a.m., Nebraska and Oregon will hit the floor at the KFC Yum Center in downtown Louisville. And from what I understand, there are already a lot of Nebraska fans that are in downtown Louisville. They moved to the big venue for the NCAA regionals out of a nice little facility that Louisville plays on in campus.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. It's a very loyal fan base. We talk about it with football, but it's, I think, very true in any sport that shows even a modicum of success, and volleyball has certainly surpassed that very low bar over and over again. People here love their Nebraska volleyball. Like that's a real thing. And, I'm not surprised at all that there's a huge level of support for them down in Louisville.
A lot of bourbon consumed.
Yeah, I heard they got bourbon and Louisville Slugger bats in their little like gift packages, the players.
Hey, there's a great combo.
Wait a minute. Hold on. The players did?
That's what I saw on the internet.
Wow.
Everything that tells me.
The NCAA is changing, for God's sake.
Well, yeah, they've kind of checked out. They're like a senior in the second semester of their last year in high school. They're not real invested in what's happening anymore. I don't know if you've noticed this, Gary. They're not quite as hands-on as they used to be.
Have you either one of you guys been to Louisville?
No, I have not.
Maybe you've been to Louisville.
I have been to Louisville, Nebraska. Yeah.
Why'd they close the pizza place there?
Don't know.
Wasn't it Gambino's? They had a good pizza buffet right there in Louisville. Why'd they close that?
I don't know.
I would drive from here to go to a pizza buffet at Gambino's.
I would not.
But, to each their own.
Listen, if I want pizza, I'm staying.
It was good. It was really good.
That's fine,
really
but
cheap.
I'm not driving.
Pretty sure it was Gambino's. But the last time I was in Louisville, because they have a nice little downtown and a really good ice cream shop.
I say they got like the soda jerk shop, right?
Yeah.
I have been there.
Place was closed.
Gambino's was.
But if you've been to Louisville in Kentucky, it's a really nice downtown.
You can get a bat.
It's kind of anchored on one end by the ballpark for the AAA team, and then in the middle is the Yum Center, where Louisville basketball plays. And then as you go a little bit further past, they have the Louisville Slugger Museum, which is pretty cool to take the tour and do all of that. I've done that before. But in between all of those places, there are a lot of joints to stop and have yourself some Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah, that checks out.
That's look at that. That's good.
Breakfast of champions.
Giving the athletes alcohol.
Yeah, not all of them are legal, so I think there's a problem there. But maybe John Cook collects it for them and hands it to them on their 21st birthday. Who knows?
John Cook, not a bourbon drinker.
Oh, do we find this out?
Oh, I know that.
You just are aware?
Doesn't strike me as a bourbon guy.
I've been, I haven't drank bourbon in a while.
I think I covered my tracks there.
Yeah? You think you're okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't drank much bourbon lately. Been on a tequila kick.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I like I've gone very fond of tequila.
All right, catching up on a couple of emails here. Chris says, "What about the players who are under 21?" He asked the question. So is the NCAA buying alcohol from minors now?
I think it was the city. It was like a welcome gift from the city.
Okay,
and they didn't buy it for minors specifically. They just provided it for a certain number of people, and I think they're trusting the Nebraska staff to make sure that anyone underage is not consuming.
Aiden says, I had a work trip in Louisville this year. Man, we had so much bourbon. Wasn't a huge fan of the city as a whole, but a ton of places for that line you mentioned.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you're headed to the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs, which is just outside of where Papa John's Stadium is.
I do want to do...
And the legendary Freedom Hall.
I do want to do the Kentucky Derby someday. Do the whole, dress up and the whole thing.
You fly right into the airport, and you're right there next to Churchill Downs.
It's a very bougie event, if you know anything about me. That's right up my alley.
Right up your alley, yeah.
Get the seersucker suit, the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so we've been talking. I tried not to go there, but the conversation is geared towards day 2 of Donovan Raiola.
Well, here we go.
And what would change people's mind. So it's kind of, again, this is the Matt rule. Hey, trust me, Joe and Jane Husker fan. But there's the other part of retaining Donovan Raiola, and we've talked about coaching the offensive line. That would make people go, okay, because he's very, very quiet on the recruiting trail. You don't hear a lot of recruits that say, man, I bonded with Coach Raiola. You just I know he's had a great build up a relationship with the Sledge family. Sam is coming to play at Nebraska, and Sam stays healthy.
I'll say he's
I've already said I think he'll be a multi-year starter at Nebraska.
He's an important piece there.
But in terms of a big recruit, whether they play for him or not, in his position group, you have not seen that yet. So that's kind of when you're judging an assistant's worth, are you judging it on the production on the field or on the recruiting trail? because there are some that are better recruiters than they are position coaches. You don't get the luxury that all 10 on your staff can do both at a really good level. You maybe on a really good staff, you probably have 5 that can do both and do real well.
Yeah.
Like I'll use an example because I really looked into this when Matt Campbell's name came up back in September. Is Matt Campbell has on his staff, and remember he just fired his OC, which firing his OC, they've gotten a bump. Like people are like, hey, Nathan Shieldhouse, I'm interested.
People love Nathan Shieldhouse.
He has a couple of guys on his staff that are considered pretty good position coaches, but they couldn't recruit themselves out of a bag.
Sure.
Okay.
And that's why they're at Iowa State.
Yeah. So, but the next step for a Donovan Raiola is, one, I think you look at a Turner Corcoran and a Bryce Benhart and say, okay, strength and conditioning starts. What kind of a body am I going to get when they come back? What is my OC going to do? What is my offensive line or my head coach who's going to help me with the offensive line? What does he see? And we can all put our heads together. So that's what I'm going to look at. And then how are you on the recruiting trail? Will you be allowed to be more engaged in recruiting? Will they teach you how to recruit or allow you to recruit the kind of players that you want to recruit, whether it be the portal or in regular recruiting of high school players? So that's like the next to determine, okay, where's this going and what is the worth is what do you do on the recruiting trail? It would be beneficial to hear people talk about him, okay? The relationship. I enjoy. Let me see a picture of you in somebody's living room, because we don't. He is a great mystery guy.
Yeah, he really is, because I think the people fill in what they don't know about him with strictly negative things, which is kind of the opposite of what we do with prospects, with recruits. Anything we don't know about a recruit, we fill in with the positive. We're like, oh, this guy's going to be great. He's going to be, like Malachi Coleman's a really good example. He's a super good athlete who's pretty raw as a football player at this point, right? We fill in all of his unknowns with positives. Donovan Raiola is a young, unknown college offensive line coach, and we fill in all of his unknowns with negatives. And I understand why it happens, but it's also probably doesn't make very much sense on either side of that coin. There's going to be a really interesting thing that develops here with what kind of guys Donovan Raiola goes after. What kind of offensive lineman, both in athleticism, in body frame, profile, the whole thing, that he starts to go after. Because there's a theory out there, and I don't know how true it is, but there's a theory out there that the guys that Nebraska had in the room and the way that Whipple and Frost wanted to run things was not a very good match for the way that Donovan Raiola wanted to coach his offensive line group. And so anytime that happens, you're going to struggle. When you don't have, Matt Rule talked about this in his opening press conference. When you don't have alignment, it's really hard to be successful. If he sees a guy in Donovan Raiola that he can be aligned with philosophically, both in coaching technique and recruiting philosophy and all these things, then the chances of him being successful go up dramatically versus being in a situation where, you don't really know why Donovan Raiola was brought in by the previous staff. You don't know if it was because of his connection to his nephew and a possible recruit. You don't know if it was because they thought maybe they were going to be running a different system than they ended up running with Mark Whipple. There's a lot of unknowns there from last year that we're just filling in with negatives automatically. And that's not a totally fair way to judge this. I think we have to judge Donovan Raiola as almost a new hire, the same way that we're looking at an Evan Cooper or a Terrence Knighton or an EJ Barthel. It's really hard to do that since we saw him here last year, but I think we have to try and evaluate it the same way.
All right. Stephen M. Sipple coming up next. We'll talk some Nebraska football, but also about the Big Ten West that's got one more year. Let's ride in the West. They will have 3 new head coaches, Luke Fickell, Matt Rule, and TBA at Purdue. They also will have some teams that look quite different. Wisconsin, which has had success with the Wisconsin model, but they've never had what you would consider an elite quarterback. Unless you think Kurt Phillips was underused at Wisconsin.
I do not. I was not a big Kurt Phillips guy. But you had the one Russell Wilson year. That's it.
But Luke Fickell hired Phil Longo from North Carolina, who just put together with Drake Maine. It's pretty good quarterbacks at North Carolina. That air raid offense under Mac Brown. He's now coming to the Big Ten. Will it be a complete shift at Wisconsin, or is it simply an offensive coordinator that can attract an elite quarterback?
That's an interesting question.
All of that to come. And also PJ Fleck got paid yesterday as he's got a brand new contract. The Big Ten ain't messing around. They've all of a sudden got all this money, and
they're spending.
It's going to force you, especially if you are a quote-unquote West Division team, you got to look in the mirror on where you're going. Where you're going, where the Big Ten is going, and where you fit in.
Where's Northwestern going?
Well, Northwestern and Iowa are two programs right now that you asked that question. I mean, Cade McNamara can't save Iowa football.
No.
Somebody else has to help out. With Northwestern, I don't know if anybody can save it right now.
Yeah, they're in a bad way.
Sip's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. Hey, as we are in the holiday season, and there are a lot of sporting events going on right now, you know, all kinds of games and performances, holiday performances. Well, if you're looking for the perfect gift for the special someone, check out my friends at Tickets for Less. Don't forget, you can download the Tickets for Less app. So give the gift of a live experience this Christmas. At ticketsforless.com, you'll find the best seats at the best prices to all the best sporting events and concerts. Have you heard the latest that are coming to this area? Morgan Wallen, Kenny Chesney, Monster Jam, and much more, along with all the great sports. Just download the free Tickets for Less app from your app store, and you'll get a discount code sent directly to your phone when you create your new account. It is pretty easy. They are giving you the gift this holiday season. So get your shopping done today at ticketsforless.com.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Caller 4 right now, 402-951-1620. Qualifies for 1620 The Zone's four-quarter pick'em. It's your chance to pick 4 football games correctly against the spread to win $1,620. Call 402-951-1620. Call now to qualify with 1620 The Zone. The Connor Happer Show.
Connie Mack only won 9 pennants in his 55 years as a manager. What a bum.
Could you imagine sports radio in the time of Connie Mack? Boy, I tell you, this Connie Mack guy just can't get it done. Can't win the big one. Can't get over the hump.
Only 5 World Series.
Connie Mack, more like Connie Hack. Am I right?
That's exactly how they talked.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Winter weather advisory will be in effect for Thursday. Expect a dry morning commute in the metro with freezing rain arriving after 10 a.m. That freezing rain will transition to rain in the afternoon, though staying chilly with highs in the mid-30s. Some light icing accumulation possible with higher amounts north and west of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked northbound along the JFK at I. We have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked along northbound JFK near exit 452, and that's going to be backed up all the way to Gilmore Avenue, so you can expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area. Then along Highway 370, be prepared for some significant slowdown from 84th to 72nd, and on Industrial Road, things are slowing down just a little bit from 149th to 144th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more.
Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. Right now, we'll open your drain line for only $93 or it's free. Call for details or request service at justcallburton.com.
T-Mobile says they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than T-Mobile 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data Q3 2022 and Cox serviceable areas. Visit cox.com/internet for details.
Buy your next vehicle your way from anywhere with Woodhouse. Start your journey online at woodhouse.com. Easily shop all new and pre-owned inventory. Explore payment options and apply for financing. Ready to purchase? Schedule your new vehicle for pickup from the dealership or have it delivered to your driveway. Need a little extra help in determining your perfect vehicle? Our knowledgeable and local dealerships can guide you to the vehicle that best matches your needs. Experience car buying your way with Woodhouse, a trusted auto partner since 1975.
When shopping this holiday season, keep in mind that everyone already has a bread maker, 20 snow globes, and a popcorn tin collecting dust in their basement. What they don't have is an Absolutely Fresh gift card, good at Shucks, Bailey's, and Absolutely Fresh. Order one online at absolutelyfresh.com.
Get BOGO savings on gifts for your whole crew and you, because it's buy one, get one 50% off at Famous Footwear for a limited time. Find kicks for your little guy and those court shoes you covet. Snag sneakers for your sporty one and show-stopping heels for you. Keep your daughter styling and look chic with new knee-high boots. We've got the famous brands to make their holiday season. Shop online and at a local Famous Footwear near you. Buy one item, get a second item of equal or lesser value for half price. Some exclusions apply.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
When is the best time to buy a house? The answer is now. It's always now. With interest rates creeping up, the real estate market has slowed down, except for the people that were planning on upgrading their home because of life changes. But the one thing we want to let people know is, even if you buy a house now at the higher rate, we anticipate rates to fall. That means you can buy your house now and refinance down the road. Lots of folks think waiting this out is a good strategy. The trouble is values keep rising, so waiting doesn't really help. Plus, if rates come back down, the market will just get busy again, meaning you'll be competing against more buyers with multiple offers, and you might not get the house that you want. We're seeing the market starting to get back to normal, which is a good thing for buyers and sellers.
Click mtg-specialists.com. NMLS number 5918, Equal Housing Lender.
Creighton Sports Update.
Creighton women's basketball is back at DJ Sokol Arena this Saturday as they host the Drake Bulldogs. Tip-off is set for 6 p.m. Bring a new or slightly used teddy bear to participate in the teddy bear toss at halftime to support Toys for Tots. Limited tickets are available online at gocreighton.com/tickets. That's Creighton versus Drake this Saturday at 6 p.m. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
Saturday, the Blue Jays are back on the road as they travel to Las Vegas to take on the BYU Cougars. Ravi Lula has our pregame coverage starting at 7. Tip-off is at 9. The Blue Jays, Saturday night.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
1620 The Zone.
So yesterday, as the show unfolded and Jeff Brahm's name became attached to Louisville, he has gone home. Tom Dienhart, TD, shared a text that Brahm sent to the recruits, not his team, sent to the recruits that he was leaving Purdue. But the timing was perfect for him. He just took a team to the Big Ten championship game with a 15-year starter, Aiden O'Connell. The program is in a good spot. This was another round of, are you going to go home? And finally, he answered the call. I think it's a good move for him, especially looking at the future of where Purdue would fit in the new Big Ten. And now you're going to be expected. People are going to be saying, hey, how come you're not always playing in the Big Ten championship game? I think Jeff Brahm's career at Purdue is going to age really well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
that's a tough place to win.
And he won consistently and recruited NFL guys. So he gets to go home, and so he gives the bump to the hometown school in the ACC. But now it creates an interesting scenario at Purdue of we're going to get to really know how Purdue sees themselves in the lexicon of college football. is, are they content with, you know what, 6-7 wins every year, we're going to a bowl game, we're good, we'll pull off a upset? Or are they, nope, what Jeff Brahm left here, let's go. And here's who's going to be our next coach. Because it almost feels like, when I look at the list, this is Purdue football from here on out. Not that these guys are, not good football coaches. Dino Babers quietly saved himself off the hot seat.
Yeah, he had
with
a nice year.
With a year at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Troy Calhoun at Air Force, who he was one of the guys in September I brought up. But then Purdue gets into who's the hottest MAC coach.
Yeah.
John Candle at Toledo. Head coach at South Alabama. Craig Bull's name was mentioned. There's some guys that are out of work that have coached at Power 5 schools before. Dan Mullen, Kevin Sumlin.
Ooh, Dan Mullen just took an OC job, didn't he? He took an SEC offensive coordinator job. I'm trying to remember what it was. Let me look it up.
I know that Dan Mullen probably would not fit well with...
Oh, he replaced Satterfield at South Carolina.
Okay. So he doesn't get to go to Purdue. That's too bad because he doesn't get to see the train lead the team on the field. But
there's options.
But now we find out how Purdue sees themselves in the makeup of college football.
I think we also find out a little bit how people view all of the Big Ten programs, right? Because I think people look at Wisconsin and Nebraska and say, hey, there's growth potential there. Nebraska's got the infrastructure. Wisconsin is trying to be a big boy. How do they view a team like Purdue? Like, how much has the Big Ten in general elevated the profile of a program like Purdue? I think that'll be interesting to see.
Purdue has spent some money. If anybody was in West Lafayette this year, right next to Ross-Ade. So they're set up in West Lafayette. They've got Mackey Arena, which is unique. And inside of Mackey Arena is also where they play volleyball. But outside, you walk out the back door of Mackey Arena, and right there is the stadium, Ross-Ade. And then right across the street is their really beautiful, lots of glass, offices and practice facility. So I think Purdue wants to be good in football. And Jeff Brahm left them in a spot where the next person that comes in, your probably base is 6 wins. And can you find 7 and 8? Now in the old Big Ten that's going to go away after next year in the West Division, 8 wins shows you that possibly you could make it to Indianapolis. And that's a feather in your cap. But in the new Big Ten, with however the scheduling is going to work, where is Purdue's place? Because I think these moves that are being made, and you have athletic directors that have a little bit more knowledge than the rest of us on what the future is going to look like, maybe in terms of who they're going to be grouped with, what scheduling is going to look like. You make some moves with a lot more cash than you've ever had, whether you be Wisconsin or you be Nebraska or what's going to happen with Purdue. But look at how, and this is great for the Big Ten. You've got the behemoths of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State's not very far behind. You've got this side of the Big Ten that's trying to figure things out, but all of a sudden have said, Wisconsin, not messing around. Nebraska, gonna spend money. Purdue, probably will spend money. May not be a name that you go, whoa, but it might be a fit hire for Purdue. Minnesota just spent a lot of money yesterday. PJ Fleck is a $6 million coach. The Big Ten ain't messing around. And Fleck is his body of work outside of the COVID year. Last 3 years, 11 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins. Hasn't gotten to Indianapolis, but for where he took over from Jerry Kill to Tracy Clays, 11, 9, 8. Take out the 3-win COVID year. Well, not a lot of places in the Big Ten would take that. So the Big Ten isn't messing around, especially when it comes to the teams that are in the West. That's why I keep saying, what is the place now? Because Iowa is going to be one of those places that could be in a transition. You've got a coach who, how much longer is your head coach going to be there? You are transitioning to, what are we going to do on offense? Cade McNamara on his own can't save us. And then if you're Northwestern, which you have these grandiose plans of a entirely new stadium, you've got an unbelievable football facility. Like everybody in the West for one more year moving forward has to look in the mirror and go, what is our place and what do we want to be? That's why I think we will have a question answered by where Purdue goes with this hire. And those are just some of the names. There are a lot of names that are out there because I don't think anybody has a really good handle on the question that I just asked. Where does Purdue football see themselves? Where are they moving forward? But I can tell you, for the last year in the West Division, man, you've got good coaches, good assistant coaches, good coordinators. It's going to be wild because a new offense at Wisconsin, new offense at Nebraska, essentially more of a balanced offense at Minnesota. We don't know what the offense is going to look like without a quarterback in Brown at Illinois. Man, this last year of the West, let's ride. I think this is going to be great. This is going to be fascinating. It's going to force you to be really good at your job if you're a football coach in the West Division next year.
Yeah, and I think that's a result of them realizing you're going to have to be really good at your job because there is not going to be a West after next year, right? You can't be – I said this before. If the West Division was planned to continue to move forward basically as is into the future, I'd be surprised if Wisconsin spent Luke Fickell money. I'd be surprised if they hadn't just retained Jim Leonhard. I think a lot of that had to do with what's coming down the pipeline for the Big Ten. I'll be really interested to see, I guess more so than anything, what the Purdue budget is in terms of this head coach, because we all know that all the Big Ten teams have the money, right? In terms of the TV money. I understand it varies pretty dramatically based on booster money and things like that, but I'll be interested to see what Purdue's looking to pay their next head coach. If PJ Fleck's at 6, I know Luke Fickell's at just about 8. Rule's going to be at a 9 average, even though he's only making like 5.5 this year. I'm going to be really interested to see what Purdue's number is, because I think that'll tell you a lot about how they view themselves and how they view their place in Big Ten football. If it's in the 5-6 range, I think they are serious about being good. If it's much less than that, you have to wonder where their priorities are. I'll also be really interested to see the names. And I wonder if some of these guys regret taking jobs. Like, does Tom Herman regret taking the FAU job before maybe seeing how things played out a little bit more? Or did he just want to get back into being a head coach at the FBS level? You know, you mentioned Dan Mullen. Does Dan Mullen, is he just an SEC guy? You know, was he going to be SEC no matter what? Maybe. But does he regret maybe not taking an opportunity to explore another Power 5 job that was opening up? I wonder about some of those guys that took jobs early that maybe were, I don't know, I don't want to say beneath them, but maybe not the best job they could have gotten had they been a little more patient.
There's the other part of, I agree with you, and it, you know, timing is everything.
Absolutely.
Is
Nebraska has to love the timing of their hire.
You know, for the longest time, like in the West Division, look at the quarterbacks out of the West Division, which has never beat the East Division in the Big Ten championship game. Look at the quarterbacks that have led teams there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about Spencer Petras. We're talking about
Joel
Stave. We're talking about Clayton Thorson. We're talking about Peyton Ramsey. We're not talking about the elite of the elite.
No,
those quarterbacks are usually reserved for the Ohio State and the Michigan and the Penn State that are playing over on the other side.
Yeah.
But this is why the Big Ten model to me is more Michigan than Ohio State. And that's why if Utah was entering the league compared to USC, I'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because Utah to me feels like more of a Big Ten team than USC does. But USC is never going to be like a Utah.
No.
And who they have access to and where they're located. So they're always going to be like that. Okay. And especially with your head coach, you know, he's not changing. All of a sudden at Oklahoma, they didn't just become, you know, tough physical and we're just going to run the football. They're always going to have an elite quarterback. So when I saw that Phil Longo had been hired at Wisconsin by Luke Fickell and knowing what he's done at North Carolina, and especially the offense that they run, which is the quote unquote air raid, I'm like, okay, is it necessarily a Wisconsin fan? Hold on, because it's going to look different. Or is this more of a to win down the road in the Big Ten, to get yourself in a place, you don't have to win the Big Ten, but to get yourself in a place where you could make the playoff?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going after the elite quarterback? Because the days of getting to a championship game with a Peyton Ramsey are over.
Likely, yeah.
So is this hire and any other future hires at an OC with the mindset of we're now going to try and go for an offense and a coordinator that attracts an elite quarterback, either a portal guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Satterfield he got Spencer Rattler last year to come from Oklahoma to South Carolina. And I mean, Rattler's game is schizophrenic.
Yeah.
When he's on, he's on. When he's off, boy, he is really
he's
off.
a hyper inconsistent guy.
But, sometimes your offense can attract people that you would not necessarily think. And that's what I'm thinking about Wisconsin. Maybe that's a mindset that changes moving forward in the Big Ten, where the other side has always had what you would consider a great to elite quarterback, that there are other teams in the Big Ten will say, no. The Tanner Morgans of the world aren't going to cut it anymore. Because you'll see that with Minnesota when they play Art.
Yeah.
They will throw the ball more than they've probably thrown it under PJ Fleck, even with those great wide receivers they had in 19.
I mean, probably looking at this here, probably the worst quarterback of an East team that won the Big Ten title is probably Trace McSorley. And he was a really good college quarterback. You could make an argument that, Cardale Jones was maybe the worst of the bunch, but he won a national championship, so it's hard to hard. That stretch, he was certainly not the worst, but overall, career-wise, maybe he was. Otherwise, you're looking at like Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, like first round guys. Even Connor Cook from Michigan State was really good by the time he was a senior and ended up getting drafted. I mean, you're talking about all of these guys you're looking at are NFL guys. Guys that have NFL, your CJ Strouds, all of these guys. Cade McNamara last year might be the worst one in terms of the quarterbacks to win a Big Ten championship. But look at the rest of that Michigan roster. It goes back to what Matt Rule said in his opening press conference. The team with the better quarterback play usually wins.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got everything else even close, if you can compete on the line, even if you're maybe not the better team, if you're competitive on the lines, if you're competitive at all these other places, a team with a better quarterback play usually wins. We've seen that play itself out in the Big Ten championship games. We see that play itself out basically every Saturday and Sunday in football. Like, as much as around here we wanted to get away from a quarterback-centric offense, and I don't think that was necessarily what he meant, but your quarterback has to play well and at a high level, even if it's not all on him.
Now, this is a valid thing that comes up because of where Big Ten football is played. But remember, you're now going to be playing at least once a year out in California, in Southern California, where you don't have to worry about the 40-mile-an-hour winds or 17-degree wind chill. And Iowa JD tweets at us, can't wait to see the air raid in November in a 40-mile-an-hour wind and 17 degrees. Yeah, this hire at OC is god-awful for Fickle. That's an Iowa fan talking about Wisconsin.
It's a weird move.
But I don't believe that Wisconsin is all of a sudden going to scrap what has made them what they are, because they've recruited to that. And they don't need to.
No.
Okay? The Michigan model is working. You can debate whether they finally have an elite quarterback at Michigan, because during Harbaugh's run, you would think a guy that had Andrew Luck and has a quarterback whisperer, the quarterbacks of Michigan would be better. They just haven't. But finally, J.J. McCarthy, who was highly rated coming out of high school, got his opportunity.
Yeah, 5-star coming out of high school.
Okay, and you've seen what he has done this year. I wouldn't say he's great.
He's not perfect, but he gives you a dynamic part of the offense you didn't have before.
But he does something that I think from the Big Ten moving forward is you're still going to have the model of being tough, physical, and being able to run the football when you want.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times, whether it be a West Division team, even right here with Nebraska, that if you don't have a quarterback that can make a simple play on third down, I love third and medium runs. Everybody in the house thinks you're going to pass the ball. I love when you run the ball, but I get it. OCs like to throw the ball on third and medium. But do you have a quarterback that you have enough trust in that can make a play either with his legs or his arm on even a third and medium to keep the ball in your hands and move the sticks?
You know what I like on third and medium?
I mean, and J.J. McCarthy, for the most part, has become that guy at Michigan with the Michigan model of we're tough, we're physical, we're going to be able to run the ball, stop the run, but we got a guy on third down that when he needs to, he'll be able to make a play.
What I really like on third downs, third mediums, and on goal line, which we almost we haven't seen from Nebraska hardly at all, is, and I know people have talked about this a lot with Matt Rule, are those quarterbacks who give you that RPO opportunities, because that's when you really put the defense in difficult spots. Is, hey, yeah, I can make the throw on the run on a rollout to get 6 yards. And if you cover that, then I'm going to be able to run for the 6 yards. So it doesn't have to just be, okay, we're going to sit back in the air raid and sling it 40 times a game. But what it does have to be is, hey, I need a playmaker at quarterback. Whatever that looks like. I mean, listen, people probably never thought Wisconsin would throw the ball as much as they did with Russell Wilson. He was a really dynamic guy at Wisconsin, and he did it both with his feet and his legs. He was a dynamic playmaker at the position. Did that change the identity of who they were as a football program? Not at all. What it did was it added a depth to their offense that made them almost impossible to defend against on a consistent basis. That's what you need. You can still dominate. I've said this a million times. If you have the lines right, you can run whatever you want. That's the point of getting the lines right, is you can do whatever you want at that point. And what you should want is to have at least a little bit of a dynamic offense, because some things work better than others. But if you're able to keep defenses on their toes, because you can do a few different things well, then you become really, really difficult to defend. That's why Michigan went with McCarthy over McNamara. McCarthy was just a little bit more dynamic, had a little higher upside than McNamara did. And guess what? Michigan's really freaking good. You know, that's the difference between Wisconsin with Russell Wilson and Wisconsin with Joel Stave, is you have one guy that can make plays and you have one guy that got benched because he got the yips because he couldn't throw the ball anymore. Like they're the same identity at the core of their team, but the quarterback can take you to a different dimension as a football program.
People over in Iowa City are going, Cade with little mobility and an okay arm.
I mean, he's a huge upgrade over what they've had.
Oh, yes.
Right? I don't know. It's a place that makes sense for him, right? Because he's not as good as JJ McCarthy, but he's a huge upgrade over Padilla or Petrus. So really good fit for him. I don't know if you're Iowa, if you can look at him and say he's a savior. I don't know if he's that guy. He's an upgrade for sure. I don't know if you can go savior.
Will Levis not playing in the bowl game against Iowa. Did you see the total? So they got their third string quarterback will be starting that game. Check out the total that is bottoming out.
Has it gone down again?
Well, it was at 32 this morning.
Oh, no.
Okay. I mean, it's fitting for Iowa that their bowl game would be another one of these.
Oh.
And you're playing Kentucky again. I mean, it was just a couple of years ago you played Kentucky in the bowl game.
It's going to be like 13-9, isn't it?
I hope so.
And that will help everybody that says there's way too many bowl games. The bowl season is watered down because teams with specific records can be playing in a bowl.
Can we get
fun?
Can we get another 3-2 effort? Can we get?
That's still the ultimate.
That's the most Iowa thing that's ever happened.
Or the Sun Bowl that was scoreless at the end of regulation.
I mean, it's a good bowl game.
Yeah, no, it's a good matchup. It's not going to.
Quarterbacks not playing are going to kill it.
It's funny that I have such a specific, like you mentioned the Sun Bowl, Jimmy. Iowa playing in the Sun Bowl is such like a core childhood memory for me. It felt like it happened every year, and I'm sure it only happened a handful of times. But like in my childhood of watching college football, Iowa in the Sun Bowl is just a synonymous thing that is just embedded in my brain.
El Paso's team.
El Paso, a lot like Iowa City, right?
Kurt wonders with Wisconsin hiring Phil Longo, who had Sam Howell and Drake Maine at quarterback at North Carolina. So North Carolina, well, he's moving to a place that had what Wisconsin was 78th in the country in offense last year. So their production in 2020, 537 yards, 42 points. But the purpose of the email in the Equitable Bank inbox is, will Wisconsin be suffering the same cultural change that Nebraska will when it went from Osborne Solich to Callahan? See, I don't think they'll scrap.
Yeah, I don't think they're totally changing identity there. That's the difference, is you're not going full, hey, I mean, listen, there is not a further change in football from triple option to West Coast. Like that is those are on diametrically opposed sides of the spectrum of football there. So to me, that is not nearly as dramatic as what's going on in Wisconsin. I will say, if they go full on into like the Longo air raid thing, it is going to be a culture shock.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go full on.
I don't
don't think they can.
I don't either. But if they were, it would be a shock to the system.
I think this is new offense, but more emphasis on better quarterback that will be in that offense. All right, coming up after the break, Stephen M. Sipple will join us here in the last hour. Ask Us Anything, and Brian Edwards as well on 1620 The Zone.
Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
Creighton Sports Update.
Creighton women's basketball is back at DJ Sokol Arena this Saturday as they host the Drake Bulldogs. Tip-off is set for 6 p.m. Bring a new or slightly used teddy bear to participate in the teddy bear toss at halftime to support Toys for Tots. Limited tickets are available online at gocreighton.com/tickets. That's Creighton versus Drake this Saturday at 6 p.m. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
42 Degrees is hiring salespeople. You can earn as much as $30 per hour. That's right, $30 per hour or more with paid vacation, medical and dental insurance, 401k, and generous employee discounts. Are you looking for a career with a locally owned company offering opportunities for advancement, great benefits, and great pay? Then stop at any 42 Degree location and inquire about this opportunity, or go online to 42degrees.com/careers and apply. Buy your mom's house. 42 Degrees is an equal opportunity employer.
Do you hear what we hear? Omaha Steaks has tons of jobs and hours. Right now, we're hiring for a variety of seasonal positions in our warehouses. Plus, all positions come with a great employee discount on food you can use all year long. To view available job openings and to apply online, go to omahasteaks.com/jobs or text steaks to 22633 to apply today. This holiday season, dash through the dough and earn extra cash working at Omaha Steaks.
Give gifts from Greenberg's and receive a Shields gift card worth up to $500. Choose from stunning diamond engagement rings, anniversary rings, pendants, earrings, and more. It will be a perfect gift for both of you. Make a $500 purchase and receive a $50 Shields gift card. $1,000, get a $100 gift card. $2,000, get a $300 gift card. $3,000, get a $500 gift card. Hurry into Greenberg's for this limited time holiday offer. West Roads Mall.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Guys, 2022's been a roller coaster year, so spoil her this Christmas by giving her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all. With soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas, exclusively from Pajamagram. Sensuous and smooth, naturally nude pajamas feel just like her own bare skin, even more alluring than lingerie. The texture and touch of these pajamas is so seductive that you'll both love the feel of them. She'll love the feeling of wearing next to nothing at all, and you'll love the way they look. Best of all, Pajamagram does the wrapping for you with free gift packaging. Order today, and Pajamagram will also include a free matching naturally nude nightie with the purchase of naturally nude pajamas. That is free gift packaging and a free naturally nude nightie when you order today. Just go to Pajamagram.com. It's fast, easy, and delivery by Christmas is guaranteed. That's Pajamagram.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked northbound along the JFK at We have one accident to report that has the left lane blocked along northbound JFK. near exit 452, and that's going to be backed up all the way to Gilmore Avenue. So you can expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area. Then along Highway 370, be prepared for some significant slowdown from 84th to 72nd. And on Industrial Road, things are slowing down just a little bit from 149th to 144th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Not your typical restaurant, not your typical place. Romeo's, not your typical restaurant, for your not your typical taste. Romeo's, Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza. Not your typical restaurant.
Suicide can be prevented by knowing the warning signs, and most importantly, knowing what to do if you recognize those signs in yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger. There are simple ways you can be there for someone, so they can be here for more tomorrows. Visit moretomorrowsne.org to learn the signs, how to approach the conversation, and where to get help. Or call 988 for help now. That's moretomorrowsne.org.
The holiday season arrives, and that means that you have parties to go to, gatherings to go to, and it might be time for you to upgrade your winter wardrobe. Head to Rockbrook Village and Rossi Clothiers to do so. Celebrating over 30 years, whether it's a brand new tie, a great new shirt, a sports coat, or the full-on suit, they will be able to help you out there and make sure that you are looking good this year for the holiday season. Celebrating over 30 years, Rossi Clothiers, Rockbrook Village.
Your Omaha hockey team is back on the road, heading to Colorado College this Friday and Saturday. Pregame is at 8 p.m. Friday night. Puck drops at 8:30. It's UNO at Colorado College this weekend on your home for Maverick Hockey. News Talk 1290.
MD West One's team of neurosurgical spine specialists is the largest and most advanced in the greater Omaha metro. MD West One has been voted the #1 private practice and #1 in neurosurgery and spine by Best of Omaha year after year. They can help if you're suffering from recurring neck and back pain, weakness or numbness in your extremities, sciatica pain, or any other recurring issues stemming from your neck or back. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the spine team at MD West One.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Creighton coverage on the zone is presented by Barry Law. At Barry Law, we fight alongside those who choose to fight back. Call Barry Law at 402-999-7777 or visit barrylawfirm.com. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
All right, last hour on a Thursday, and we welcome in from On3.com, Stephen M. Sipple. Hey, good morning, Sip. How are you?
I'm sorry. First of all, that was late on this again. Good. How are you guys?
No, why were you late? What story were you uncovering? What source were you talking to?
Was it Jim Leonard in Nebraska?
Yeah, that would be something.
He didn't say no. Didn't say no.
Be something to turn the conversation in a good direction. No, it wasn't that though. It wasn't anything.
Yeah. Okay.
That would interest you at all. Okay.
All right. Well, it's personal. That's fine. I don't need to know that you're on hold with LES or something like that. Trying to resolve a bill. Hey.
Right. Yeah.
What's your impressions of the first 10 days of the Matt Rule era?
Well, I mean, it's been rocky because of the factor many he can't control. I mean, the Mickey thing happened. The Prime thing happened. Now he hired Donovan. It looks like Donovan Raiola. That how would I characterize it? Kind of rocky, uncomfortable in some ways, which is fine. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's kind of just we went from a kind of tumultuous season into a kind of a kind of that way in the off season a little bit. So I don't know, at least we're used to it.
Well, I agree with you, and that's a good way to put it. There are things that have happened in the first 10 days that he can't control, whether it be something that happened with an assistant coach, something that happened when he was still in Carolina where you fire the head coach in September and an in-state product who's really good starts looking elsewhere. I mean, you can't control that as much as you try. So let's go on the other part of this is what do you think he can control right now that would help the cause before they ever get near a football field to play a game? Like here in the rest of this month.
What you just said, the defensive coordinator position, it could help. I mean, I don't think we need to. I mean, I'm definitely not of the mind he's got to go get a big recognizable name. Now, I would say this though, I'd like to see that hire be someone who's called plays for a fairly significant amount of time, at least. So that's, I mean, I am watching it from that standpoint. I think that when he addresses the media for the first time, or for the second time, I guess, again, and I would say that would be, the December signing day. We'll get some answers then. I think that will be an important appearance for him. The recruiting class, I think if he's able to keep it in pretty good shape, and it's got to be hard. You don't have to, I think it would be unfair to look for him to add like high profile players at this point. He came on late. I mean, there's some sort of difficult challenges that are inherent in what's happened here because of the situation. So I think a lot of the things that have made the conversations a little uncomfortable are just things he can't really control.
Sip, how much of the, I guess, backlash around Donovan Raiola's retention has to do with actually the job Donovan Raiola did versus the fact that we don't really trust the guy that hired him here in the first place?
Oh, I don't. The latter, I don't think it's not a factor in my mind. I think it's what we saw on the field. Man, it's a complicated discussion. This Donovan Raiola discussion is pretty complicated. I just try to look at it through the eyes of Matt Rule and try to put myself in his shoes. And you can make sense of it you can be reasonable and you don't really have to you don't have to stretch to make it sound like a decent choice. Here's the way you do it. I mean, this is immediately what I thought when I saw the news. I was kind of part of it, but my immediate thought was, I bet he just feels like these guys, Corcoran, Piper, Benhart, Prohaska, Nordine Nuili, that group of guys that are in a critical, really all of them are in critical stages of their career, that what they need is continuity. There's probably a couple other names you could throw in there too. Maybe what they don't need is a third offensive line coach
in 3 years
now. They need, continuity. Maybe Rule thinks of it this way. The only shot this line has at this point is continuity and then their experience. And let's see what it looks like. Keep the same coach, keep the same techniques. Don't make them learn a third batch of techniques. So if that's the reason, if that's what he says when he gets up in front of the media in mid to late December, that would make sense to me.
Hey, the portal is going on, and we're on the day 4 of the portal, and Butler, who came to Nebraska really, really raw and hadn't played a lot of football, but was an intriguing prospect, and he got on the field a little bit this year, but I get it. He was recruited by the previous staff, and now everything's new, and he doesn't have a position coach, so he puts himself in the portal. Do you think that there's still, like, as guys get hired for the staff or don't get hired, and players at those position groups are thinking, where are we going? You don't have to give me names, or maybe you can. Are you anticipating a couple of more surprises in the portal on an Ernest Hausman type level where they put their name in the portal and you go, whoa, hold on a minute?
Not really. I mean, nothing that I don't know. I don't have any insight into that. Maybe just if I was going to say yes, I anticipate it. It's just because of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some kids are literally now just going into college saying, well, I'm not going to play just one school. I want to play a couple, so there might be that element might hit. I mean, I'm sure what's happening right now is there are players weighing options, seeing what for instance, if you're on Nebraska's defense, and there's a lot of good defensive players, they could have 11 guys back. Start. They could have 11 starters back. Now, but some of those guys might be looking at the situation and say, who's going to be the defensive coordinator? There might be some NIL discussion that's ongoing. I'm sure there is actually. So some kids are going to weigh that. Where can I get more money? I mean, so that there's fluidity to it. But right now, God, I mean, if you're a Nebraska fan, you look at that depth chart, and you see 11 possibilities coming back, and a lot of those guys are pretty good players on a defense that, had trouble up front, but was pretty good the back end. God, you hope they could get 10 guys back, and then, I think you would come up with 7 what you would call returning starters on offense, and it's much, it always winds back to the line of scrimmage of what that's going to look like.
Sip, at this point, how would you handicap the chances of Casey Thompson returning?
I wish I could do it. I'd like to think they're really good. The chances. Haven't heard anything. Again, Casey may or may not know who's even coaching his position.
Mm-hmm.
So at least he does know the offensive coordinator. He would seem to fit well with Marcus Satterfield. I mean, he's like Spencer Rattler in a lot of ways. He kind of his style's similar. He's not left-handed, but so I would like to think Casey. I think Casey would go to another school. I don't know if he'd go to a third school. If he's going to play, you'd like to think it'd be at Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I were a Rule, I'd be very interested in it. Now, there's also an arm injury, perhaps, that he's got to deal with, and you got to see if he can play in the spring, participate in the spring. But that wouldn't preclude him from coming back and being the starter. I mean, he saw with Adrian at Kansas State, he missed the spring and was their game one starter. So there's a lot to that conversation. In fact, there's a lot to it, and it doesn't seem like people are talking about it much, but that's a huge part of it.
Beb, you mentioned Jake Peets. Is Jake Peets in Lincoln, or will he be at the Raiders-Rams game tonight?
I don't know that. I think Raiders-Rams, but I mean, you might be doing that thing where you're throwing. I mean, I don't know anything about it. He would be at Lincoln. I don't know that.
We might have to scour and get our Rams sources to check out all of the coaches for the Rams before the game on the field to see if Jake Peets is on the field.
Do some sleuthing.
Yeah. I don't know. Could he get out of those duties now contractually? I don't know.
So that's another part of this is we're trying to figure out the spots that are open. It sounds like it's not that easy with some guys if they're in the NFL to get them out of their NFL deal right now in the tail end of their season to come to college. Are you getting that sense as well? That maybe, a guy you wanted or are pursuing the NFL contracts, whether they be in Carolina or somewhere else, are a challenge to you.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't Donovan get out of his? He did. Donovan Raiola, he got out of his.
But wasn't he wasn't their frontline offensive line coach.
No,
he was what, the assistant to the
coach.
The assistant to the offensive line coach.
But with his contract be structured differently. Jake is an offensive assistant with the Rams. I don't know what the contractually, if it would preclude him from joining Nebraska immediately. I don't know exactly what the situation is with Pete now, other than what his name's out there. It's a distinct possibility. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Is he in Lincoln? I guess I'd be a little surprised if he's in Lincoln, but I guess it's possible.
Well, we're gonna scour that game tonight on Amazon looking for Jake
How are we
Peets.
going to scour it? Yeah, we're going to scour it.
It'd be the most surprising visit to Lincoln since Matt Rule like a month ago.
Yeah, it wouldn't be quite as surprising as that. I'm mostly interested, honestly, in the defensive coordinator. The position coaches, I don't spend a whole lot of time agonizing over. But the coordinators are immensely important to me.
So let's talk about coordinators here. Obviously, I made the Jim Leonhard, I'll call it a joke, earlier in the interview. But where's your thought process on where they might be looking, or names that people should maybe be thinking about as they move towards hiring a DC?
Well, there's a Carolina run game coordinator. I'm going to say his name is Serrano.
Saravo
with a V, I think.
Serrano. So you look at that, and it's viable, but it doesn't. He's never been a defensive coordinator. He's been a special teams coordinator. He's been a run game coordinator. He's been a recruiting coordinator, but he's never been the man with the headset calling the defense. And I don't know. Again, I don't know if that would preclude his hiring, but if I were the AD, I might. I mean, I wonder if you're the AD, if you just mandate, okay, we gave you all this money, get a defensive coordinator who's called plays in a game, and not just helped or been a coordinator in special teams or recruiting. I don't know. I might be. I bandied that about my mind. I don't know if we could do that as an AD, but I think I would strongly suggest, if I were the AD, that the coach hire somebody with a lot of play calling experience, like Marcus Satterfield. I really like the offensive coordinator choice because he's got 11 years of play calling experience, and he's been a head coach. The head coach at Tennessee Tech didn't go well, but he had to show some level of organization to land that job. So, yeah, I hope it's somebody that is I'd say really experienced.
We haven't talked in a while. And it happened yesterday. What's your, because I think you're a closet fan of Purdue football. You followed Purdue football for a while. What do you think happens post Jeff Brahm? What does Purdue football look like post Jeff Brahm? It's not like Nebraska is going to stop playing Purdue when, USC and UCLA. I think Nebraska and Purdue are going to find themselves playing a lot. But what do you think Purdue football looks like post Jeff Brahm? Because we're answering the same question here with Scott Frost. They're answering the same question in Wisconsin post Paul Chryst / Jim Leonhard. What do you think Purdue football looks like after this championship appearance season?
If it's smart, it won't look that much different, and they go get Clawson at Wake Forest if they can. If you can close that, if you can try to do that. I know Tom Dienhart, who you're both familiar with, had him as a tier 1 candidate, and that's the name that makes easily the most sense to me. There's some other decent names, but I don't know. Some of the names I've seen are remarkably ordinary and
underwhelming.
Really underwhelming. And if you're Bo Binsky, the AD, you got to go get somebody with a sort of cachet and background that's commensurate with what you see in the rest of the division, because the division's gotten really good in the coaching area. Yeah. That's why Trev did a good job going and getting someone like Rule, proven, veteran. Whose name fits with those guys. You can't go get a no-name from the back, and it could work, but man, I'm trying to go get a name from the Power 5, like Clawson. And that's how I would operate. Maybe Dino Babber, someone like that, or Lance. Lance Leipold. I mean, that would be great too. Now he just re-upped at Kansas for whatever that's worth.
That would be a shocker.
I'd look at Power 5, and I would look at Proven.
Hey, one quick thing. I know Robbie has a question for you before we get you out of here. Why don't you think? Because I've liked him from afar, and I know you've brought him up before. Why don't you think Dave Clawson's name really never got traction at Nebraska?
It might just be because he wasn't interested. It did get traction. It really never did, and I don't have an answer for that. But you're right. It never got much traction. Maybe it didn't get much traction because he is not. I mean, if you think about the guys who got traction late, Fickle, real late, Doran, Lance, the familiarity isn't the same with Clawson. I wonder if he's one of the 13 that Trev mentioned that, he talked to 13 guys. And I took that to mean, and I've been since told I was right about this. That's 13 guys that he was serious about. And did Clawson make that list? I mean, I've done it where I've formulated a list. You can get to 10 that you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the list on me, but you can, for sure, 9, and you can make an argument for 10 that you're pretty clear on. Now, maybe Clawson's one of those sort of, like Aranda's outside the 10 to me. Monken's outside the 10. Maybe Clawson's one of those guys who's outside the 10.
Sip, talking about Clawson, has the Big Ten separated itself enough? I mean, we talk about the SEC and the Big Ten as the Big Two.
Yeah.
Has it separated itself enough that Purdue is a clear upgrade from Wake Forest in your mind if you're Dave Clawson?
That's a great, and that's the question. No, I mean, it's an upgrade, but it's how much of an upgrade? That's it. It's a really good question. And some of these guys, though, you see make sort of lateral moves. I thought Satterfield, for instance, going to Cincinnati, that doesn't scream upward, right? So sometimes guys are looking for something different at a certain time for a variety of reasons. So it probably has to be that. I get where you're coming from. No, you're right. Purdue, you guys I've been there a lot. It's not, I can't believe that its facilities are a lot better than Wake Forest. I can't believe that it's a Purdue, come on, Purdue's a basketball sport when you get down to it.
Yeah.
Brahm's done a great job there, but it is a basketball community. And they do have, now I will say this, they do have a new indoor facility and facility in general that's pretty beautiful. It's really handsome. And I'd say it's 2 or 3 years old. It's pretty startling when you see it at Purdue. Like, wow, that is gorgeous. They have a gorgeous football facility. So maybe Wake doesn't have it quite as nice, but I don't know. That's a good question about Clawson. I'd still try to get him. I think you could pay him more than Wake's paying, and sometimes it just comes down to that.
Hey, Sip, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
That's Stephen M. Sipple. Well, I mean, like a Dino Babers comes up for the job. Dave Clawson. They're both at basketball schools right now.
Yeah.
Syracuse.
That's why
Wake Forest has had success in football.
Yeah.
And they've taken a step back in basketball. The Danny Manning experience was not great. But Wake Forest, they want to be a basketball school. They still are a basketball school with their history. I mean,
historically, they're a basketball school, and what they care about, they're a basketball school.
So guys that are names that are being mentioned for the job is kind of interesting because they are good football coaches, but they're football coaches at primarily basketball schools.
That's why I thought Mark Stoops was in play at Nebraska.
Because he wanted to jump to a football school?
That's a basketball school, no matter how good they are. I mean, you could win a national championship, and that's a basketball school no matter what. There's a lot of places like that. Indiana's like that. It'd be weird. Purdue's a little weird because I think they're, like Sip said, I think they're a basketball school too.
Yeah.
Although being in the Big Ten gives them more football credibility, more so than a Wake Forest or some of these other places that we're talking about, like Syracuse here. But maybe they're also looking at those guys because they understand those guys know how to navigate a football program when football is the second choice. I mean, that's something that could be relevant experience here as well.
Just look at Nebraska. You come to a place like Nebraska. If you were at a basketball school, and all of a sudden you're at a school that has a huge separation between football and basketball and funding and passion.
Between football and everything, let's be honest. I mean,
it is an adjustment. I've heard people say that before.
Yeah.
And I was at a place where football was big, but football was like a buffer in the fall to get you ready for the winter.
Yeah. And that's
now,
not the case here.
This
is
fall,
365.
Winter, spring, and summer.
Yeah, this is 365 here.
All right. Ask us anything coming up next. Also, Brian Edwards before we're done on a Thursday on 1620 The Zone. Hey, now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just sign up with promo code ZONE on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. You get your winnings paid fast. Live betting, you can navigate the app. You can find out where all your bets are and all the games to stay up to date. All you have to do is sign up today with promo code ZONE for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code ZONE. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is now withdrawable. Free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
Would you rather know the lyrics to every song ever by heart or be handed $5,000 cash?
$5,000. In what instance would knowing the lyrics to any Heart song benefit me?
No, not heart songs. Like know the songs.
By the band Heart.
No, like by heart. Like,
dumbass. That's fair. That's a fair critique by you.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Winter weather advisory will be in effect for Thursday. Expect a dry morning commute in the metro with freezing rain arriving after 10 a.m. That freezing rain will transition to rain in the afternoon, though staying chilly with highs in the mid-30s. Some light icing accumulation possible with higher amounts north and west of the metro. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Buy your next vehicle your way from anywhere with Woodhouse. Start your journey online at woodhouse.com. Easily shop all new and pre-owned inventory. Explore payment options and apply for financing. Ready to purchase? Schedule your new vehicle for pickup from the dealership or have it delivered to your driveway. Need a little extra help in determining your perfect vehicle? Our knowledgeable and local dealerships can guide you to the vehicle that best matches your needs. Experience car buying your way with Woodhouse, a trusted auto partner since 1975.
College basketball season is heating up, and when you need tickets to check out your favorite team, ticketsforless.com is always my go-to spot, whether it's in Omaha or Lincoln or elsewhere. Creighton, UNO, the Huskers, any other team, ticketsforless.com has the best selection of tickets, and you never pay the outrageous per-ticket fees that you see on other sites. Yeah, that's right. Those outrageous per-ticket fees, not with ticketsforless.com. Plus, when you use the promo code THEZONE at checkout, you get a special discount just for being a loyal listener. That's promo code THEZONE. So lock in your seats and save with that promo code at ticketsforless.com.
Hey, Olivia, what do you think when you think of Jones Bros Cupcakes and Cafe?
I think, can we go now?
Jones Bros is famous for award-winning cupcakes. Our cafe is delicious for breakfast and lunch, too.
Try French macarons.
And our light bulb boba drinks.
And our ice cream.
And our coffee and lattes.
And our croissant donuts.
We cater, too. Come see us at Jones Bros Cupcakes and Cafe in Exarban Village.
Come on, let's go.
Dancing crew, trip for two, nailed the final interview. Game with Doug, brand new mug. Come here, kids, give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. New COVID-19 boosters designed for recent Omicron variants are now available. Learn about eligibility and schedule a free updated booster today at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
What makes 42 Degrees the source for Kratom, CBD, Delta, and more that might help you with sore muscles, joints, and other ailments? Stop by any location, talk to our staff, and see what we can do for you. By your mom's house.
Holiday shopping? Back by popular demand, stop by Cops at 72nd and Jones, Shadow Lake Town Center, or 180th and Center to grab a bite and buy a gift card. Cops gift cards are sure to please. Cops makes delicious pizza, fresh salad, and tasty charred wings with a variety of homemade sauces. They even offer keto crusts. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cops, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. 72nd and Jones, the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or click copspizza.com.
Cubby's supports the PACE program with Raise Some Dough. For every large pizza sold at Cubby's in the Old Market, Cubby's gives $1 to the Police Athletic League, serving at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children with athletic and educational programs. PACE has over 5,800 program participants. The league reaches kids that would not normally be able to participate in athletics like soccer and baseball due to financial situations and family dynamics. PACE wants to give every kid the opportunity at athletics and a healthy and safe environment. If you'd like to support PACE too, go to paceomaha.org.
The Zone Hotline is powered by Los Hills Harley-Davidson, your home in the hills. 1620 The Zone.
All right, time for Ask Us Anything. We do this every Thursday at this time with our good friends at Oscar's Pizza and Grill. They are open at 10 a.m.
Let's go.
All right, so Nebraska-Oregon volleyball starts at 10. There's a lot of places that are open. The power of the John Cookers. They would get places to open an hour early on a Thursday.
You love it. You love to see it.
You drink some red beer, watch Nebraska beat Oregon in 4.
You calling your shot? You calling in 4?
That's what I'm calling.
All right, let's do it.
The last time, let's see, I was actually at Oregon doing a basketball game when they put the Nebraska volleyball match against Oregon up on the big screen. I was the only person in the building that was rooting for Nebraska.
Did you see the duck?
I was as I was blinded by the floor in Eugene trying to watch their video board of volleyball. But it starts at 10, and there's a lot of places that are open. So good on you all. Oscars at 173rd in Center, Lakeside Plaza for the whole experience, or 162nd and Maple. Guy I saw last night in Des Moines, last 3 times I've seen him in Omaha, Darren DeVries at Oscars.
There you go.
Yeah, I told him last night I had to come to Des Moines to see D-Rock, not to go to Oscars to hang out with the DeVries family. By the way, he's doing well. His son didn't shoot the ball real well last night, but he's going to be in the NBA before too long.
Yeah, he's going to be fine, I think.
Yes. Again, 162nd and Maple is takeout, only 173rd and Center in the Lakeside Plaza, the great experience. And, of course, they will have all the games on throughout the weekend as now we transition into the NFL and, of course, all the bowl games. All right, we do this every Thursday. You send in a question. It's Ask Us Anything, anything goes. And Ravi and I try and answer it to the best of our ability, and the winner gets a gift card to Oscars. Here we go, Jimmy.
All right, I like this one. This is from I like them all, so I'll preface it with that. This is from Dan. You wake up hungry and want toast for breakfast. After grabbing the tub of butter from the refrigerator to lubricate the bread.
Why you gotta say it like that?
I'm just reading.
Dan,
just
why
reading
you
what it says.
Dan, why you gotta say it like that?
You're lubricating the bread. Should you 1, sweep across the top of the butter container as if you are dragging the infield of a baseball diamond, or 2, take a deep divot of butter as if you're using a lob wedge on the golf course? Thank you, Dan.
That's a great question. And you know what? I got in trouble once when I was a little kid for how I got butter.
Were you digging?
I like went chunk.
Oh, yeah.
Like instead of the just slice across the top, I went chunk, and I got hollered at.
Yeah.
For the reason I don't like eat butter, like just, put
Yeah,
butter on
a little
stuff.
traumatized?
Yeah. I mean, I got hollered at. I think I might have got spanked.
So
It's a different time.
Well, I probably just opened myself up to people.
I'm not gonna make any jokes. I enjoy butter. I'm a big butter guy. I will heavily butter some toast. Love a good toast.
Sounds good right now.
It always sounds good. That's the thing about toast. It basically always sounds good. I will say, I think I normally go Well, this is kind of a difficult question because it really depends on the temperature of the butter.
Okay.
Because if you're
pulling it out of the fridge.
Yeah. So if you're talking about a cold butter.
And you go to lubricate your.
I've never lubricated
bread?
toast in my life. Okay. That's just a thing that I will not do.
Would you rather lubricate or spread?
Spread for sure. Lubricate does not belong anywhere around food. Not looking for lubricant
Depends
with my
who
food.
you are.
Just me personally. But if you're talking about cold butter, your infield dragging method isn't going to collect enough butter
Exactly.
for me to get on the toast here. Now, if you're talking about a nice room temperature butter, you keep it in one of the fancy little butter trays like we do, then you're able to infield drag and get a proper amount of butter. And that's my preferred method. But I'm more concerned about the proper amount of butter than I am the method of getting the butter.
My man.
If all things are equal, I will take room temperature butter and infield drag it, but I will do what I need to do to get the amount of butter I want on that toast.
Okay.
It's inspiring stuff.
I would probably go for the I'm with you there. But now I can't get out of my head why I got in trouble, because I think instead of going with a knife, I went with a spoon.
Okay.
To take the butter out.
That's a savvy move.
Little.
That's a savvy move.
Man, it's weird how you remember stuff when you got in trouble when you were little, and everything about that. Like
you just went back there.
Yeah.
Just hearing the question.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Listen, I would have no problem if you're ever at my house and you need some butter, going with a spoon. I don't mind.
Get your damn butter.
Do what you need to do. I respect the need to get butter on your bread, your rolls, your little English muffins, whatever you're eating. Get that butter by whatever means necessary. No judgment here.
And then trying to put cold butter on a piece of bread.
I hate that.
Yeah, and then the bread
hate
rips.
it so much.
Oh,
trying to get cold butter to spread on something is legitimately one of the things that makes me most angry in life.
All right, question number 2. That's a good question. The fact that you use lubricant.
Exactly.
I hate that, but
I think that might put you in the lead.
Said what I was thinking. Are you for or against Starbucks' new tipping system in which credit card paying customers are asked how much of a tip they would like to leave? $1, $2, other amount, or no tip?
I mean, a lot of the world has gone to this,
Mm-hmm.
even at places where I wouldn't necessarily think to leave a tip. I'll use an example here. The lovely folks over at the CHI Health Center.
Yeah.
Okay. You go in, you pay for your hot dog and your soda or whatever, and then you get the option of leaving a tip. It's never occurred to me in my life to tip a concession stand worker. Not saying you shouldn't necessarily. It's just that's not something that I've ever really occurred to me. And, you know, I also have follow-up questions here, like at the CHI, because those people are usually volunteers. So does that money go directly to the cause that they're trying to raise money for? Does it just like line the pockets of Mecca? Like, what are we doing here? I need answers before I do the tip.
Now, that at KU football game, same thing.
In a situation with like a Starbucks, I will usually just do the dollar and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it leaves you in a really awkward position when the person that you're potentially tipping or not tipping is holding the thing,
and
telling you whether you're tipping or not.
And they're just staring at you.
Yes, that's super awkward.
I went to get a bagel yesterday at a place that I like that unfortunately they have no help. Like they have signs up that say, sorry, we only have 2 people working today.
I've been there.
So when you go to pay and that screen comes up yesterday, and I usually do it $1, even if it's slow, I get it. But the lady was just like staring at me.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Puppy dog eyes.
Especially, again,
I went 0.
Especially in a situation where it's not necessarily expected that you tip. There are certain situations where, like, okay, you're at a sit-down restaurant and you're eating, a tip is expected. I don't mind it as much when they hand you like the thing and you're doing it all right there. I don't really care that much. But when it's a place where tipping is a bit ambiguous, don't love it.
We might have to talk off air on how come that place can't hire people.
Well, I just like to know what it is because it sounds good.
It's Central Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extremely busy place.
Yeah.
But they don't have anybody that works there. They at least let you know when you walk in, hey, we only have 2 people working today. That's what the sign said yesterday. I'm like, did you hire somebody? I mean, this is a popular place. They do well. I mean, it's always busy.
Yeah, you would think they would have the cash flow to bring a couple more people on.
Or move somebody else from one of your other stores.
Yeah.
They could sponsor a morning show and bring bagels.
Good idea. All right, last question.
All
We got
right.
Brian Edwards coming up before the hour's over.
Once upon a time, we tried to do chicken livers here. Would you rather have Frosty the Snowman for a friend or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for a friend?
Ooh.
Oh, this is a pretty easy question.
Well, I don't know that I would use the word easy.
Oh, it's super easy.
Okay.
Listen, the problem with Frosty is that he's gonna melt. You have a seasonal friend here. You have what you would call a fair weather friend, or an unfair weather friend, since Frosty prefers the cold. I think Rudolph is the pretty clear-cut answer here.
I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan always of the Christmas specials, which I'm glad they're back. You are right about the Made of Snow. You disappear, you come and go. Kind of like a lot of people in our life will come and go.
Exactly. Do you have to rebuild him every winter?
No. He just comes back to life.
He just magically. So that helps.
Yeah.
But listen, if I have to choose one, I want the friend that's going to be there. Listen, who do you think of more than, hey, they're there for your time of need, than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, who literally saved Christmas?
So who would
that guy's got your
who's
back?
it cooler to have as a friend? Because, with Rudolph, I mean, you always have the cachet as he saved Christmas.
Yeah.
And he's got a distinctive trait.
Yeah, he does.
So people would look. There's always going to be conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So who would it be cooler to have as a friend? Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Well, here's the problem with Frosty is you can only hang out with him outside in the cold. Not a huge cold weather guy.
Could tailgate with him.
Yeah, I'm not tailgating in the cold.
Well, we did establish this.
I'm not a cold weather person, right? So that's a tough look for me with Frosty. Like, am I opening up my window and just like chatting with him while he's outside? Do I like keep his head in my freezer so I can visit him while he's in my house? Like, that gets a little like Dahmery for me. Not a huge fan there.
I would have said DiMaggio, but I get it.
I think you're thinking Ted Williams.
Ted Williams.
Yeah, there you go.
Dang.
Come on, show some respect.
Sorry, I got my heads that are preserved wrong.
You got your baseball legend's head in the freezer mixed up.
I got to be better with head.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got
crossovers.
You've got some legitimate logistical issues with Frosty. So this is not an indictment on the snowman himself. It's just the conditions he needs to exist. I'm out.
Rudolph just seems real needy.
The other reindeers seem cool.
At least Frosty comes and goes, so you don't always have to, don't have to always have to be with him.
I just feel like he'd be like a really big dog, and I like dogs. I'm in on Rudolph.
He's very needy.
I picture Frosty next to a keg. I'm
going to be honest. I'm probably holding the fact that he's like a second cousin of Scott Frost also against Frosty the Snowman. The familial connection there is not working for me.
No, but I'll entertain it. I don't believe that I ever saw Frost have a corncob pipe.
That we know of.
Did not have a button nose.
That we know of.
Were his eyes made of coal?
Maybe. It's hard to tell. They weren't open very much. There's a lot of squinting going on. It was hard to tell what they were made out of.
Did Frost ever wear a nice scarf?
He certainly never wore a schmuck. We know that.
Touche.
We know that for sure. We know he didn't like the hoodies.
Frosty is usually draws a crowd of kids. Frost draw a crowd of kids.
Sure.
19 or 20.
I'm just trying to figure out your reasoning here. I'm not judging.
No, I'm just going purely based on name. I assume there's a connection there. But yeah, the elemental things needed to exist for Frosty to be my friend, not going to work out.
Maybe
for me.
Rudolph would be the better friend because he would be the gimmick if you're out at a bar and you're like, hey, look at my friend. Hey, come over here, Rudolph. And then you touch his nose and it lights up. And then all of a sudden it's a conversation started.
Ultimate wingman, Rudolph.
That's true.
Ooh.
That's true.
See?
Hey,
it's been your day.
Hey, come here. My friend's got a trick. Watch this. Let me touch his nose. If that doesn't get you into a relationship, I don't know what does. That's Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Oscar's Pizza and Grill. Brian Edwards coming up next.
Spiro Deed is here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli this week for Thursday Night Football from Southern California when the LA Rams host the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr in Las Vegas are on a roll and looking for a fourth straight win. Can they do it on the road against Sean McVay's injury-struck Rams? Join us to find out on Thursday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Spiro Deed is here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli this week for Thursday Night Football from Southern California when the LA Rams host the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr in Las Vegas are on a roll and looking for a fourth straight win. Can they do it on the road against Sean McVay's injury-struck Rams? Join us to find out on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on 1620 The Zone.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with the promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. So sign up today with promo code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Arizona 1-800-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Indiana, Kansas 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana 1-877-770-STOP. New York 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Wyoming, West Virginia 1-800-522-4700 or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
Here's this week's Maverick Minute. Omaha Hockey completed a weekend sweep over number 14 Western Michigan with a 3-1 win last Saturday. The Mavs head back to the road this weekend to take on the Colorado College Tigers. The Maverick men's basketball team fell on the road to Mean Green Saturday. North Texas hit 9 threes in the second half, powering to a 75-45 win. And that's your Maverick Minute on News Talk 1290, 1180 The Zone, and 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone.
Hey, before we dive into our conversation with Brian Edwards, Greg Smith over at Rivals has let us know, Greg breaking this story, Nebraska will have their top transfer portal target on campus this weekend. The offensive lineman who is transferring from Rhode Island, who's in the portal, 6'5", 310 pounds, Johnny Cornelius will be part of the official visit weekend for Nebraska. There are a lot on official visits. Mike Schaefer is on tomorrow, so we'll get into that. But Greg Smith from Rivals over at Inside Nebraska, Johnny Cornelius will be on an official visit this weekend. Let's talk to the senior handicapper at Vegas Insider, Brian Edwards, who joins us now. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. What's happening, Gary?
Everything is good. Hey, I want to start from the back, and then we'll move to some football. Basketball. So now we're into, we got some juicy games, and basketball conference games are starting up right now. We were talking about UConn earlier. UConn is the first team to get to 10 wins, but my God, they're 9-0-1 against the spread after winning against Florida last night.
Yeah, and I was on them, and I've been on them, I want to say 4 games in a row since I mistakenly made the poor decision to back Bama against them. They beat Bama by 15. They've beaten all 10 of their opponents by double digits. And, I mean, they're covering easily. They spanked Florida last night. If I'm a Huskies fan, I'm worried they're peaking too soon, but I'm a gambler, and so I don't care. Let's just keep riding them. I mean, they are just winning. I mean, their only push was they won by 20 to Buffalo as a 20-point favorite. I mean, they're covering easily in all these. I mean, they're 2-point dog to Bama. They win by 15. They were 3.5-point favorite to UConn. They win by 24. The only one now they did have a little bit of a scare against Oklahoma State. They were up 15-18 the whole second half, but they only won by 10 as a 9-point favorite. But even the Iowa State game, they won by 18 as a 5.5-point favorite. They are just killing it right now, no doubt.
Brian, when you see something like that where the lines are so far off from what the actual results are, and it doesn't really seem like the lines are adjusting really quickly to account for that, what's usually the reason for that discrepancy on something like this?
Well, the only reason I could say for last night is that was their first true road game. But I mean, I'm a Gator fan, and I knew what was coming there. And look, Castleton's one of the biggest big men in the country, but UConn's got 2 big men. I mean, they got the 7'2" kid off the bench who came in, and he was just fantastic last night. So, and Castleton was winded the whole game because I think he played 32 minutes. The other guys played like 20 apiece. But yeah, I would think the odds makers are going to make the adjustment now, but yeah, I can't really account for why they're so off so far.
Hey, one final thing on college basketball. Just like we all expected on December 10th that Louisville and Florida State would meet, and they'd be a combined 1-17.
Oh, geez.
How are you handling this game if you play it?
Oh, I'm fading Louisville until I lose. And FSU is actually covered. FSU is actually covered in back-to-back games now, but I was fading them every game. But I jumped off that train at the exact time because I just thought that Purdue was laying 16 at FSU a week or so ago, and I was like, wow, that's a little too many. So I didn't fade FSU that game. And then when they played Virginia, I was like, wow, 18? That's way too many, although that one was in Charlottesville. And FSU played pretty good. They only lost by 5 to Virginia as an 18-point dog. So I'll probably be on FSU. Even if they're double digits, I'll probably be on FSU against Louisville. Louisville's that bad.
All right, let's hop over to the NFL. Got a little Ohio in-state rivalry this weekend. Browns at Bengals. Bengals are a 6-point favorite. Seems like they're maybe starting to hit their stride, but the Browns have Deshaun Watson back. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so Cleveland really put it on them in that Thursday night game, and Joe Burrow has yet to beat the Browns. So he wants to get this one big time. And the Bengals are absolutely on fire since they took that beatdown from the Browns on that Thursday night game. They've won 4 in a row since then, both straight up and against the spread. They're now 8-2 straight up, 9-1 against the spread in their last 10. They're 4-1 both straight up and against the spread at home this year. And Burrow in the last 11 games, 22-4 TD INT ratio. Watson looked horrible last week. I think the Bengals win this game handily. I'll lay the 6, no problem.
All right, we talked about this in the past. When the playoff matchups come out, you still have a month essentially until they play. And, once the line is set, it doesn't waver very much. First of all, your reaction to Georgia only being a 6.5-point favorite against Ohio State, and what is your thoughts on that one? And then also, I know you like TCU. You might be leaning towards TCU in their matchup with Michigan, but your thoughts on Georgia only being a 6.5-point favorite against Ohio State?
Well, all year I've heard so many people that I respect say that they only had Georgia, and I'm, not in the last like week or two, but I'm talking about like a month back or and even further back. Georgia is just only 2.5 or 3-point favorite to Ohio State, which I thought was hilarious. And so I was just like, man, please give me 7 or fewer, and I will be all over Georgia. And I made my biggest bet of the season right when I saw the line. Georgia's won 12 of its 13 games by double-digit margins. I know they've had some duds at Missouri, the Kent State game, et cetera, but in all the games where you knew they would be ready, Oregon 49-3. They go to South Carolina, raucous crowd 48-7. The Florida game, they're up 21-0 early, 28-3 at half. Now Florida fought back, but they still won by 22. The LSU game is 35-7 with less than a minute left till halftime. Ohio State's defense has faced 3 opponents whose offenses have a pulse. Maryland, Michigan, and Penn State. Penn State scored 31, Maryland 30, and Michigan 45, and that was without Blake Corum except for the first possession. I think Georgia absolutely smashes Ohio State. I'm calling it 48-20. Won't be surprised if it's worse than that. I think, Ohio State always gets killed by the SEC. They're 2-11 against the SEC in bowl games. They beat Alabama in 2014. They beat Arkansas in 2010. But other than that, they always get blasted by the SEC. In 6 of those 11 games, they've lost by 14 or more.
Where are you on that other game, the Michigan TCU game? Michigan's a 7.5-point favorite. Stylistically, that one's pretty interesting. Do you have a way you're leaning on that one?
Yeah, I lean TCU as long as I can get 8. I don't know, man. I'm just not sold on these Big Ten teams. I think Michigan's good. Don't get me wrong. But, I like the Frogs. I like their offense. I like their weapons offensively. And even if they do struggle, and their defense has gotten a lot better, in the last month or so. Didn't play great last week, but I think TCU will hang around and have a chance to win that game.
Hey, your final your play is the Detroit-Minnesota game. I want you to explain to people that look at this and they go, Detroit's 5-7, Minnesota's 10-2. I don't think Vegas believes in Minnesota if you're watching the Lions the last couple of weeks. But not the Lions, but the Lions are the favorite. How do you explain that to people that don't know Vegas and trying to figure out why a 5-7 team is favored over a 10-2 team by anywhere from 2 to 2.5?
Well, before I go there, I just want to say that I'm not like everybody else that's been calling Minnesota a fraud all year. I've been backing Minnesota a ton. Most of these teams have been great to me this year. But in terms of why Detroit is favored, Detroit is playing great football over the last 6 weeks. They're 4-2 straight up, 5-1 against the spread in those 6 games. Their only losses by 4 at home to Miami and by 3 to Buffalo. And to me, Buffalo and Miami are 2 of the top 5 teams in the NFL. The only non-cover was by a 0.5 point to the Dolphins, lose by 4 as a 3.5-point dog. Last 6 games, Jared Goff, 8-1 TDI-NT ratio. I had Detroit as an underdog for a winner at Minnesota 2 months ago. They were up 14-0. They were up 24-14. They were in control the whole way. And Minnesota took its first lead with like 45 seconds left on a 28-yard touchdown pass. Detroit completely should have won that game. They're in revenge mode here. And they've been, even as they've been really bad the last couple of years, the last 4 games between these teams have been decided by 10 combined points. 3 of those games being decided by 2 points apiece. So they've been playing nothing but close games here recently. And again, Detroit should have won at Minnesota earlier in the year. So I like the Lions. I also like the over in that game.
Well, 3 of the last 4 meetings been decided by just 2 points, and the other one was the Vikes won by 4, as you were alluding to. B, as always, we appreciate it. Have a great and productive weekend.
Y'all as well. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good one.
That's Brian Edwards. You can follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. The Detroit Lions, 5-7. Dan Campbell was going to be out. Now he's back in, baby.
Red hot.
They're spicy. They are spicy.
People still not believing in the Vikings because they don't blow anybody out. They play a lot of close games.
They do. They play a lot of close games.
Except when they play the Cowboys.
Well, But no, the Lions are a weird team that they're really hard to figure out because They really started so poorly, but they've played pretty well the whole year. They're kind of a really tricky team to figure out.
All right, that'll do it for the show. Thanks to all of our guests, Sip, Brian Edwards, and all of you for joining us over the last 4 hours. We'll wrap it up tomorrow. I'll be on the road with Omaha men's basketball. Shock, playing a road game. Weekend away from Omaha. I'll be headed to Yellowstone. I'll be out to the Dutton Ranch.
Yeah, I'll be here, though.
You will be here.
I will be here.
Yes, along with Jimmy and a Ravi friend.
Yeah, we'll find a friend.